Dormer, whoever's on that agenda.
Okay, we are recording.
Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order, please.
Sit up there.
Tim, could you read the public notice, please?
Yes. Adequate notice of this meeting was given in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act by mailing the schedule of the Township Committee to the Express Times and North Star Ledger newspaper, posting a copy on the Township bulletin board, and filing the copy
There's one.
For the record, we should note that it is a joint meeting between the Township Committee and the Open Space Committee. Okay, roll call.
Kenya?
Here.
Dean?
Here.
Spencer?
Here.
Marqueta?
Here.
Parsons?
Here. Flag salute, please stand. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I think, John, first I want to do the resolution. We have a resolution 2017-63. It's an emergency resolution to appropriate $146,000 to purchase police vehicles, because pretty much the fleet is in pretty bad shape. So, I'm looking for a motion to accept the first reading of this, right? Do we have to do a motion? Just the first reading to adopt it. So, I'm looking for a motion for adoption.
Make a motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, roll call. Any discussion or questions? Roll call, please.
Kenya?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Spencer?
Yes.
Marqueta?
Yes.
Parsons?
Yes. Well, he's got the order in on Thursday, so. Okay. John, I think the first discussion we would like to do tonight is about the $800,000 that was, appropriated a few years ago, but the bond was never issued for this. Okay. So I guess we want to go over that first.
For the purposes of the people in the audience, to explain how the whole thing came about and how this town committee is now responsible for funding a decision that was made by the committee in 2015.
There were two bond ordinances that were adopted in 2015, and they authorized debt in the amount of $798,325. That debt has been authorized, but it has not yet been issued. Okay? In order to maintain cash flow and to pay for those projects, you have to go out and issue what's called a bond anticipation. I would get that done as quickly as possible. You can either do that now through your bonding attorney. You can write up something and you can go out and issue bond anticipation notes just for that one piece. Or if you'd like to go through and after our discussion tonight, you're going to do this other bond ordinance. If you want to wait until that point, so you can do them all at once and save some money from them rather than having to just have the one combined, we can do that. So that's the position you're in tonight. Your debt actually includes all debt that's authorized but not issued. So when you look at the whole entire debt of the town, and those two ordinances established a lot of different things within it, a lot of different improvements throughout the town. I know there's a $250,000 piece in there for road improvements. I think you might be able to break down better what's in it. I know the email went out there. Right, so I don't know if you're all got this, but $225,000 of it was for road improvements, that debt that was issued. Fire department breathing apparatus was another $180,000. Fire department Ford F-450 was another $73,000. And then it goes on and on. Another big ticket item is $142,000 for a heavy duty dump truck for the public works. And so they approved all of this in 15. And now you're in a position where they didn't go out and get the debt in 2015, so you didn't do that extra step in 15. I say you weren't all here. But in 2015, that debt was never issued, but it was authorized. So now you're in a position where you have to go out and issue that debt and start paying it.
And spent, correct?
Majority of it has been spent. I think there were two projects that were on this list that were never done.
I think it was like 75,000, I think it was. Yeah.
It was, so,
But, yeah.
So if they didn't get a bond, now we're stuck. So basically what you're saying is, this committee is now stuck having to handle debt that a previous committee never funded.
Correct. They authorized it.
Right, so before we even look at the park and at all of our own capital project issues. Before we even look at that, we have to now take care of $800,000 worth of debt
Right,
that was handed off to us that we had nothing to do with.
you're correct.
Okay. And how was that funded? It was funded through, where'd the money come from?
They're called bond anticipation notes. You would go out and borrow one-year notes, but because you don't have them yet, and you do have expenses with it, you pulled in money from different other funds. So current fund gave a little money over, you got some money from trust fund, I think they might even use an interfund with sewer. There were interfunds that, you know, one fund loans another fund money, but we make sure you have to pay it back.
Yeah.
So when you go out and issue this debt, you can pay back all those other funds and put the money back where it belongs.
Okay.
It's called an interfund, it's legal to do, it's used by
Yeah.
all CFOs throughout the state of New Jersey. We like to see them cleaned up prior to year end, but you can't clean it up because you don't have the cash to do that.
But I think the point that we want to make is, in 2015, when people felt you didn't have any tax increases in 14, this money was used from other accounts that covered that expenses, and we're paying for it now. So I think that's the point we want to get at, is we didn't make this debt, it's a loan or whatever, it's a bond that's coming to us. So it'd be just like if somebody stuck you with your credit card bills from 3 years ago.
If you took, and just, we're going to discuss this, I think, later on tonight, but if you took, it's roughly $800,000. You paid that back over 10 years. You're looking at $80,000 in principal a year. One tax point here is $60,000. So taxes would increase at least a penny, and even more if you still have to pay interest on top of that. So the principal and interest that's going to be associated with that you have to fund going forward. And tonight, we're going to have a plan in place and go over it, how we could potentially do that.
So we have a tax increase just to fund this, without even looking at the park and our own capital
You
issues.
have options, but it depends on how this committee wishes
Okay.
to go.
I just want to make sure everybody,
Yes.
yeah, I
if
want to make sure everybody
all things-
understands,
All
yeah.
things being equal, you would see an increase next year because of that 80,000 you can start paying back, plus interest on top.
Okay. Okay.
Anybody else
Thank
have any
you.
questions? Any comments? Okay. Then we're going to move on to the joint meeting with the Open Space Committee. We thank you folks for all coming tonight.
Well-
And,
So are we going to make a decision on how we want to pay that back, or are we going to handle it
I
with...
thought you wanted to do it later when you do all the bonding. Is that what you said? That's what you said.
Okay, okay.
In your, I did hand out a packet to the governing body. The last page is a recap of what you had in your open space budget. Less any expenses that might have been paid this year. I didn't get in touch with Kathleen to get that information.
Give them $100,000 in there now. That's not counting the levy that's going to go in this year.
Yeah, we're going to address, we're going to call in you, Dawn, the OSB to give us an accounting update on the fund, but...
Okay, so that 900, as you mentioned, we still have a payment for Odette, is that correct? That's going to come out of that 900?
Yes.
I know I always ask this, but aren't we supposed to be getting some money back too for that purchase from the county or something? I thought we were supposed to get
That's
some money.
after.
Like the, what do they call that,
And-
soft cost or something?
No, whatever percentage we put in towards the O'Dowd acquisition, we would get back at the auction proceeds.
Okay.
So once they close on all of them, then they can go to the auction.
Do we have any idea what that amount is?
It's about 200,000.
Okay, so I just want to make sure we have...
Now, if we take that 200,000 and offset this bond, or does that just go back into the open space?
So we just go back to
The open space, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me just go one step further. If you have a bond, if you decide to bond for open space, and money comes back in, you can put that aside specifically to pay that bond down. Rather than just lumping it back into the open space reserve, you would keep it on your balance sheet as something different, reserve to pay debt service. Use that money to pay down any bond. That's your decision as a governing body to decide what to do with that money.
But I don't think we can do that if we don't know what the auction is going to bring.
Right.
So we have to...
No, it's an unknown.
Right.
When it comes in, it's a bonus to you one way or if it's a
Yeah,
dollar.
I just wanted to make sure we always remember that we have that coming back, because
Yeah.
everybody thinks that this
Well,
account's
that committee
getting
won't let us
drained.
forget.
Yeah. They act like everything's getting drained, but there is going to be a couple 100,000, hopefully, coming back in. So.
All right, so, do you want to move on then to the park?
Yeah, let's go on.
All right,
As long as everybody's done, everybody's good with the... Okay.
and then we're going to go back into the capital project.
Yeah, I thought that's what John said.
Yeah, all right.
We're gonna get here before the music stops. Mike?
I don't know if you want.
Mike, you gotta get here before the music stops. It's like musical chairs, you know?
Explain something quickly.
I never heard you do that quickly.
What the color maps, you're gonna see some display maps and so forth. Our color plotter, kind of hit the skids today. And 2 points for Pam Kresge, at last minute's notice to print the stuff out. So I just came from Print Plus picking all this stuff up. That's hence why I'm a few minutes late.
Okay.
Who's going to talk first?
Well,
Who's that first? What we're waiting for?
yeah, let me just introduce him.
Okay.
All right, so Mike, let me know when you're ready. You want to hand those out first, and then we'll...
Right there.
We'll go hand those out.
Hopefully we can get stuff out to the... Hopefully we'll connect this to the trash. Like I said.
Oh, yeah. Thanks.
Very nice.
You want to take my two and do that we own it.
All right. There's a bunch more copies here. So
Okay.
He said he's got a bunch of copies too.
Oh, okay. As long as they have.
That's not in, it's not in the specs, so we just put it there for future. We'll ask him. That's the first I saw.
Yeah, that's right.
This is from Frank.
my apologies again, but Rick was working down the work, so I thought it was working.
Thank you.
He's on this side.
Well, one of them's microphones just over to that table. Or do you want to use the table? You can take it.
Stuff, lots of stuff.
Where's the other piece?
Is there another email?
Good, how are you?
Feeling good?
I'm all right. Here's the number, right?
Brad said to disregard the back page of this. It's a work in progress sheet. Just use the figures in the front.
Yeah.
No, Bobby.
That one?
So right now, I don't know what I have. Yeah, I do. I got it.
What's with this?
Font's a little small, but it says minus something.
Oh, yeah, 1 million.
Yeah,
Well, that's if this is all purchase.
Right.
These are all questions that feel free to ask.
Identify those items and numbers. There's no idea, we have no clue if you're willing to.
Right. Which one's which?
You have to hold up the sheets every time you address them, so which ones are in.
You're using that?
All right, so all the handouts done, everything all set?
Sure.
All right, so before we start, this is a joint open space committee meeting, township committee meeting. We're at a point now in the building of the Thomas Stewart Park where the township committee is going to have to make some decisions. The open space committee, the members of the open space committee have been working on this within the last year and a half on this current project, but well before that. And I just want to say that everybody on the open space committee, they're all volunteers. They're all putting their own time, their own effort into it, and everybody's trying their best. So you're going to see there were some mistakes made here and there, but they're always done with the best intentions and the best estimates at the time. So we're now at a point where we got to make a decision on the go forward on the park, and the open space committee is going to make a presentation to the town committee, and then after the presentation, we're going to have to make some decisions. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mike. Mike's going to give us an update as to where the project stands as of today.
Okay, thank you, Frank. And again, my apologies, of course, to the committee, the Open Space Committee, and the audience for a couple minutes late, but again, it was for the purpose of having these visuals to talk about and look at. And same goes for 40,000 words, and hopefully okay. For all of us in this room, I suspect, we've driven by the site and the project over the last 6 months many times. Phase 1 is what has been under construction since the award was made last December. The contractor, we've had Earthworks, Inc. I think by and large has done a nice job, and I think Phase 1, when it's completed, will be pretty close to being right on budget, and will be a good foundation to move forward with Phase 2, whatever Phase 2 becomes. Right now, Phase 1 is about 90+% complete. Phase 1 included 3 primary items. Earthwork, which was the biggest of them all, of course. A lot of dirt had to be moved around. The stone for the parking lots and the establishment of the parking lots and the entrance driveway in the circle, which everybody sees. And some utilities. Those utilities being sanitary, storm, electric, and water. Sanitary and storm are done. Electric and water, there was a hold-up because we evaluated some different alternatives for the water extension to the project, but finally concluded what we were going to do just recently, and that work is actually going to commence next Wednesday. So next Wednesday, Jeff is planning on Jeff Ciorcio, the contractor for Earthworks, is going to be out at the site to finish up with the electric and the water. Just so you know, the electric is just going to be, there are 5-inch conduits, one to run the electric and the one to be an extra conduit for future purposes, whatever it may be. There will be no power provided at this point. That's in phase 2. Water is another story. The water will be connected to the main on Greenwich Street, and the Aqua themselves does the wet taps to the main, and earthworks will run the service line, if you will, down to where the future concession stand will be located. Off of that line, there's been an agreement by the Township Committee, and I think it's certainly a good move, to add 3 what we call yard hydrants, which will key off of the main, which will provide water for future irrigation of the 3 fields. So that's also going to be done next week when earthworks gets back to the site. So that's basically where we stand. We're close to being done. I would say another couple weeks, and we'll be very close to being completely done, with one important exception. I know the committee's well aware of this. When you drive by, if you look out over the field, you see a lot of nice green grass, and most of the areas have really germinated well and are pretty stabilized already. There are some large bare spots. Those bare spots happen to be in locations where the actual proposed fields are slated for. There's a different grass mix used for the fields than for the other lawn areas. For whatever reason, the lawn areas seed did a lot better. However, we have a commitment from the contractor that he's coming back in the fall to overseed and reseed, and the fall is actually a little better time to do that anyway. So whatever doesn't get stabilized this spring and into the summer, I think will definitely be stabilized in the fall, and then come next spring, we should be in pretty good shape as far as having those fields potentially ready to go. I guess we'll cross next spring when we come to the field. So that's an update on where the project stands as we speak, and basically phase 1.
So just one correction, because I want to make sure everybody here has the right information. You made a comment that phase 1 is on budget. So I want to just clear that up.
Okay.
I want to clear that up. So it's the dollar amount is still under the approved dollar amount.
No, that's not what I meant. Let me explain what I meant.
Okay,
Because-
go ahead.
Sorry, not to interrupt, but when I say on budget, I mean the contract that we awarded to Earthworks. There are, the only real overruns were things that we asked for. So the project and the contract and the final payments to Earthworks will be consistent with a couple minor exceptions, and those were township requested change orders to what was awarded to the contract. Now, you want me to just continue? And that's good clarification, as a matter of fact. My own budget and the township budget is maybe 2 different things. I was speaking specifically to phase 1. All right. When we awarded the project, and there was an estimate done, which we're going to hear about more, I'm sure, coming up. The total estimate was $961,000 and change. Close to $962,000. We are well under that number. So we are about, and this includes engineering fees as well, at about $650,000 approximately, rounding off a little bit. And Kathleen and I actually spoke about this last night, kind of confirming the numbers. So right now, from the approval that was granted by the Township Committee in 2016 for a project that was hoping to come in around $970,000. We are at about $650,000. So we are roughly $300,000 still below that budget. So
Wasn't a budget for both Phase 1 and Phase 2 and
That's
completion of
right.
the park?
And that's an important
That's
so,
not just Phase 1.
no, I meant the whole project. I thought I said that.
so just for clarification, where the project stands right now is not the final, the delivery of what we expected as delivery, when we initially said 962,000. Now, the town has a decision to make. We could stay with the 962,000, we're going to have to talk about that, and deliver what's there now, which is not even close to what we promised the residents, or we can go with the recommendations of the OS committee going forward. So, I just want to make it clear that when people say we're over budget, we're not over budget yet, because we're still under the approved amount. But, yes, if we want to finish the park the way the Open Space Committee thinks it should be finished, we're going to have to go above the approved amount. So, and then they're going to go over all that. So, I think if we're done, then Brad can go ahead and start talking about the current financial status of the project, and
I think
Mike covered most of that, right?
I think,
Kim, is he in the microphone?
Please ask one quick question, Mike.
It's picking up.
Do you have the architect's designs for the pavilion, or for the concession stand?
No, I don't.
The concession stand drawings?
Well, yes, I do. Yes, I do. I have a set of plans, so they're in our plans.
Were they the final ones, or?
Yes, they're the ones that went out to bid. Yes. You want to see them?
Yeah, is there copies or anything?
Well,
Because last time we had, they were just drawing them up.
So, Brad, you don't want to...
no, I think I'll add some things.
There were last 4 sheets.
Mike did cover a couple of the points that I was going to mention, but I think it might also be helpful for just to revisit and also for the benefit of the public of how we got to today, right? So when the Open Space Committee was reformed in January 16, we picked up on a lot of the plans that were developed back in 2012 and 13. And to refresh everyone's memory, I mean, this park had been approved for development in 2013 by that Township Committee, right? And even prior to that, back in probably 06 timeframe, the park had been conceptually designed, and it was a much grander, had many more amenities than what we've got here today. So this has been lingering in the community for over a decade, at least, right? As far as an idea and a concept. And we've scaled it back to keep it within a certain spending limit, and that was the goal. So when we as a committee started in January of 16, we picked up on this, and we presented our proposal in May of 16 last year, about a year ago. We presented it as a full project. Well, after it was approved for the $962,000, just these round numbers, when it came time to start working up the specifications, we had to break it into phases. We had to do phase 1, which was the primary earthwork, as Mike already mentioned, which is moving the earth, putting in the utilities like stone, electric, and sewer, putting down the stonework for the park. We had to break that into phase because we had to ensure that the funding was secured there. Right? We couldn't go after the whole park project at that time because we didn't have those funds in the open space fund for the catch project. So we had to break it apart. When phase 1 came in, we saw that the cost of phase 1 compared to what we originally estimated in the full proposal for the same work was more. And it was about, based on our estimations, that the phase 1 earthwork was close to $188,000 more than our original estimate. So when that happened, we took a pause as a committee and we said, we're not going to move ahead with any further work until we have a handle on what it's going to really take to finish the park to deliver it the way we proposed with what we consider to be basic amenities that are going to be useful to the community, which includes facilities like a pavilion, concession stand, playground, walking path. And these are all basic needs for the park that we feel are necessary to deliver a park that the community will use. So we decided that we would go out with phase 2 as a bid, with breaking out some of the additional work to get a better idea of true costs as opposed to using our original estimate. So now where we're at today is we know what we spent, and we're approximately at $650,000 of spending, which includes all the earthwork, in addition to all the engineering work up to this date, and we still have a lot to go. Right, so we still have 300 and some odd thousand left of the original allocation, but to finish the park and deliver it with the amenities that we promised, when we scale back on things, it's going to cost more than that. So what we're proposing is sort of a reapproval, re-estimation of the total park project costs, and we can lay out of where, why some of these costs are coming in higher than the original estimations. So, the new project costs to deliver the way we think town deserves is going to be closer to 1.9 million, above 1.9 million. And there's some overages that we've laid out that we've been able to identify based on the work that's been done, as well as the bids that are in. And some of those variances, I think you guys have this worksheet in front of you. You have this working draft. Mm-hmm. So we know phase 1 earthwork came in over about 188. The facility structures, we have some, the pavilion is higher by 55 than what we originally estimated. Concession and restaurants is higher than originally estimated by 168. The walking path is higher than original estimates by about 140. Part of that overage is due to work that was required to be in compliance with the county, as well as to be in compliance with ADA.
So, I think, and the Dormery was going to go over those?
Okay, so you're going to go over
Yeah, so, because I know you can elaborate a little bit more on why some of these things happen. Some of the overages were out of our control. They were mandates given to us by the county that we weren't aware of when the project started, which were not cheap. So anyway, if you're done...
Yeah, so well,
yeah, okay.
I'm going to just kind of run through this and give you some editorial. So we talked about the beginning project approved was $961,728. Brad, nice now, spread out, that was $1.9 million, so that's a $907,000 change. So we talked about the phase 1 earthworks, 100. The concession and restroom, 167,700. Just want to let you know that approximately 90,000 of that is the restroom. Okay, and that was the schematic that we went through yesterday, that we had talked about with another sources. The pedestrian walkway of 139,600, as I said, 40,000 was ADA compliant, as well as the county path extension from the school. That county path extension is for $15,000 of that 40. Now, if we didn't do that, the county would have required us to have sidewalks from Wyndham Farms to the park, which would have been an $80,000 cost. So that was the offset to that. Additionally, on the walking path, we also had a design change where we had the walking path all around the park, and to make it easier for people to get to the restroom from the field, there was a $30,000 design addition to go from the center, which I'm sure you're going to show us later, to go to the field on that. Phase 2 seating was $129,600. Originally, the estimate was to see the fields themselves. Now we have an additional 20 acres of seating in the field, as well as the seating along the pathways. 10 foot on each side?
10 foot, yeah, 10 foot, swamp on each side.
So that, like I said, is another $130,000. The county road improvements, that was county mandated, almost $100,000. That was like traffic markings, pedestrian signs, sidewalk, traffic control, the trees, and obviously the earthwork and the
asphalt and all that nonsense that goes with that. And that was completely unexpected. The playground, $97,000. There was an estimate originally at $35,000. So putting out some more due diligence on what that cost came out to, something around basically $131,000. So that's that. The engineering costs, I think you know, that there was an outlay of $89,300. I believe that $45,000 of that is just in 2 costs that have yet to be incurred. The pavilion was budgeted at $45,000. It's now coming in as $100,000, so that leaves us with a $55,000 increase. We have landscaping. We have almost $12,000 landscaping there, and it's now coming in at $55,000 for the We had architecture designed for concession / restrooms for $10,000, $10,000. We had a field system irrigation that was an original. Okay, I believe that the committee is working on another option, which may all only cost us $20,000, and that's being worked on right now. So that may be a savings. And then the sewer lift station at $37,275. Basically, we had a septic. They wanted to patch into the sewer. There was supposed to be some sort of a manhole cover to patch in. It didn't exist, so we had to go with this $275,000 pump system. Sewers and septic are not much more expensive than any other institution. Okay, so that basically explains the big ticket items to get to that $970,000. Questions?
Any questions?
The landscaping. Mike, I think we talked about eliminating some trees or whatnot. So did we do that and then you adjusted that figure?
No, we put, and if we're going to talk about the phase 2 bids, the landscaping is one of the alternate bid items. And we've all acknowledged that the trees along Greenwich Street have to go in per the county approval. However, all the internal trees, they certainly don't have to go in. So, what's that? There are the trees, the county trees are in the basement. Sorry, that's okay.
So Mike,
We
we're
have
not,
not adjusted any prices for any change in landscaping at the moment.
we're actually at that point where you're gonna go over the bids, right? So you can do that now.
Okay. Well, as Fred indicated, after before with phase 1, we wanted to go out to bid for phase 2 so that we could look at some real numbers. Okay. No, they actually have it. They had it. It's been sent to them. But, okay, we received 2 bids. One from Sampson Concrete, one from Applied Landscape Technologies. Mr. Sampson happens to be sitting here enjoying the meeting. The bid was set up, and there was a lot of time and effort spent on this to try to separate the line items to give the township the best option from the awarding a contract standpoint. So, we had basically the base bid items, which included all the county road improvements, the walking path, but just cutting in the walking path and putting stone down, and miscellaneous other pedestrian-related improvements, the 88 ramps, signs, things of that nature, the septic, the lift station for the sewer. So, that bid, the low bid came in at about $374,000 for just the base bid item. Now, then we go to the alternate bid items. And without getting into excruciating detail, the alternate bid items, there were nine different alternate bid items that ranged from paving the walking paths, paving of the parking lots, striping, landscaping, all the interior landscaping. Two different options for seeding, one basically grass everywhere, and the other one being grass adjacent to the walking path and a wildflower mix for the other areas, which would intended to be something to reduce future maintenance costs. The wildflower mix ended up being more expensive than the actual seed. But there were two different types of seeding. Flagpole is one. Is the establishment of the base for the future playground with just the boundaries and the rubber mulch. And last but not least, the concession stand, which again, I think we all know this, we have two bids. If you include the concrete associated with and around and under the concession stand, low bidder was $188. The other bidder was about $407. So
That's just for the concession.
concession stand and the concrete. So that gave us the opportunity to have real live numbers and decide one of a menu of choices to try and award a contract that made sense. Now, some of these alternate bid items we were looking at potentially. The DPW potentially maybe getting involved in doing some of the work, and so forth. So but when you compile everything, the base bid items and all the alternate bid items, that brings us to the total amount which is reflected in Dawn Marie and Frank's worksheets. So whether we get there or not tonight, the idea, I think, is for the Township Committee to decide what they want to spend, and then, based upon that, fit the improvements per the bid and the alternates into that budget.
Mike, did you want to review is there anything you wanted to show on the illustrations to the public, or?
Everybody looked at the small handouts. The ones that are behind Kathleen go back about a year, so they're old. No, you got to turn your head at 180 degrees. No. No.
Not tonight.
So let me go over here first. All right. This is a new plan view of the park, which shows some of the changes that occurred since 2016 to what has now been partially constructed and now has gone out to bid with Phase 2. And primary components are obviously the three fields. You have basically I'll call it the three different loops of the walking path. You have the one in the inner loop, second inner loop, and then the outer loop. And the outer loop is actually was set up. It's 1.0 miles exactly. So I'm sure people using that, they'll use it and for that purpose, knowing exactly how far they're walking. We are not proposing to pave I'll call it the parking lots that you see that are parallel to Greenwood Street, at least at this present time. Those will remain stone. Obviously the entrance drive, the circle, and the main parking lot in the front would be paved. concession stand is at the very end of the main parking lot. It's flanked by the proposed pavilion. The playground is adjacent to that. And there is a future shed storage area that's proposed on the other side of the parking lot. There's, as was stated before, there's an extension of the sidewalk from the park walking path to the school. And then you get into the other things such as signage, landscaping, and so forth.
Mike,
So,
just an important note on the extension of the sidewalk to the school. By doing that, we actually saved the town money,
yes,
correct?
Gomery did a good job explaining that before.
I just
yes.
want to reiterate that,
Yeah.
because the county was requiring that, or, how much was it, Tony?
Well-
80,000?
I think it's kind of... Yeah, well, they actually wanted, they wanted a roadway connector, first of all. But then when they came off of the actual roadway connector, then they wanted the sidewalk on, we'll call it the south side of Greenwich Street, from Wyndham Farm all the way to the entrance, to allow for pedestrian traffic. What we got them to compromise on was this extension of the walking path to get to the school, so you still have the ability for pedestrians from the school and also from Wyndham Farm to get into the park.
But it'll connect to that whole sidewalk that goes beyond the school, goes right down the road.
Yeah, exactly. It connects, it's off this plan,
It's a
but yeah,
continuation of the walk.
it connects to the sidewalk in the school property. So which then you could walk down to Wyndham Farm Boulevard and, and everybody from obviously the south side of Greenwich Street and Wyndham Farm could access the park that way. So that's just a quick summary of the proposed improvements in the proposed park. This other drawing is just a 3D rendering showing various views of the park, so you can kind of see where the buildings are going to go and whatnot. We actually tried, things aren't exactly to scale here, but, I don't think I have to explain this. The big one kind of I like the best, because it kind of gives you a nice perspective on the pavilion, the playground, the future shed storage area, the concession stand, which is kind of hidden behind the pavilion, and the 3 fields, 1, 2, 3. We even did a picture with the rocks that are out there that we talked about potentially putting a sign on the face of the one big rock in front. So, I don't have to bore you, you can kind of get your bearings, I think, from looking at those 3D photos or plans. So,
Okay, thanks. Kathleen, would you be able just to give a brief rundown of the OS fund as it stands today?
Well, in cash now, you have about $903,000 left. The 2017 open space tax will bring in $239,548 approximately. That will probably be certified by the county and the state hopefully mid, so maybe late July.
Which will give us a total of, what would it, once that's certified?
Well, I'm not sure what, I guess we'll decide what, are we at a stopping point now with expenditures on the park for now?
well, no, because Jeff still got things, the contract is still working.
And how much is that?
Well, it's the utilities and the yard hydrants,
About 50 grand.
it's probably about 50 grand.
Okay, so let's say 850, bring it back up to 950, bring it back up to $1 million.
So come July, the balance in the fund will be around $1 million. Okay.
But don't we have to take 500,000 out?
I was gonna say barring when the O'Dowd
Right.
comes through.
But we're gonna get part of that back.
We're gonna talk about that.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that.
Yeah. Do you have in front of you this sheet that shows a little bit color?
Yes.
Okay. Because I was gonna refer to
Yeah.
it, like,
Well,
You have that, John? Yeah.
So, what we wanted to make sure of was that the park, because we're gonna be using the open space funds to fund the park, we wanna make sure that the park isn't gonna stop the town from preserving open space, because obviously that's what that fund's primarily for. So we asked Frank Pinto just to give us an accounting on how our open space preservation efforts planned in the future would be funded if we did go out and finish the park based on the recommendations of the OS committee, right? So
what I can tell you and what has any degree of certainty is this year, the 2017 column, and the figures that you see in tan, which are the payouts for the O'Dowd property. That's Greenwich's contribution to Warren County for the purchase of those properties. Three of the five pieces have already been closed by Warren County. They haven't asked us for those funds yet. They're really waiting for that fourth, the O'Dowd South piece to close, and then they will ask us for our contribution. At that point, Warren County would be ready to, as the fee simple owner of those lands, three of them they intend to auction off as preserved farms.
So, just to let everybody know, the O'Dowd property, where the O'Dowd property is, in 2016, just so everybody knows, there was, 250 acres?
Yes. Basically, in the last couple of years, really, though, they've all closed this year, in 2017, the O'Dowd acquisitions. There's 250 acres that have closed. There's another 107 acres that are pending.
So while we were funding Phase 1 of the park, we're still able to preserve 250 acres of open space, and the O'Dowd property is the farm around Stecker Field, basically, right?
Right. That's
Just
pretty
so
much
everybody
all
else
of that
knows.
property. One of those pieces, Warren County will continue to own and develop as its own county parkland. It's not going to remain as agricultural use.
Right.
Which lot is that?
That is the O'Dowd West. O'Dowd North piece. It's about 60 acres in total.
That would Morris
Morris Canal is there. Okay. So it's all part of their Morris Canal Greenway project. So there's another additional 20-acre O'Dowd property that has been appraised and an offer has been made. And that is also an ask of Warren County for a contribution on that project. And it would work in the same fashion. Whatever percentage of the total cost that Township provided for the funding, that percentage of the proceeds at auction would be reimbursed to Greenwich Township. So in the end, it would be about $550,000 of acquisition monies to preserve all of that roughly 360 acres in Greenwich Township. And then at least an additional $200,000 of that would come back in the Open Space Trust Fund coffers after Warren County does its auction. So the net is about $1,000 an acre when you're looking at that. Now, the very difficult part of what I do to assist you is to predict which landowners are interested in preserving their property and when. It's impossible. There's a lot of factors that go into that. The economy is a big one. And in fact, that's the trend right now. As you know, the real estate market in western Warren County is rather bleak for large acreage tract housing. That type of new development is really not occurring around here. Accordingly, landowners are not interested in selling low. They'd rather sell high when the market's high. So most of the landowners right now, which is a great time to buy property when the market's down, aren't willing to sell. So we're not seeing many landowners coming out and actively offering to preserve their properties. But we do have conversations going with several of them. What do you see before you on the left-hand column of the sheet is a lot of blank white space where I did remove the names of landowners just for purposes of this study. It's not really fair for me to publicly categorize some of them as not being likely to get preserved. That's just not an appropriate thing to do.
What's the total number of preserved land in the town as it currently stands? How many acres? I think you would give me over 1,000 acres.
Yeah.
Farmland, open space.
1,600 acres. So Greenwich Township currently has preserved 1,600 acres. Now, I moved here like
76 is open space, whether it be active or passive, and around 1,200 is farmland.
right. So when I moved here like 16 years ago, 17 years ago, Greenwich had 0 preserved open space. So within 17 years, 1,600 acres is pretty amazing, I think. It shows the commitment of the town, so.
So what we, the acreage figures towards the bottom of the sheet are essentially all of the properties that are on what we call a targeted list. Those are basically properties eligible for farmland preservation. They meet the minimum criteria at the state level, and those landowners essentially are eligible to apply if they wish to preserve their property. Then the mechanism is how would we go about getting them preserved? The normal process is for the landowner to make application to the county, and then the county would then cost share with the state on the purchase. However, there are some circumstances where the county may not want to preserve it. It's not a sizable enough piece of property, or maybe the soils aren't appropriate, where we as Greenwich Township may fund it with both our open space trust fund money, as well as a grant that the state has given you called a planning incentive grant. So you have a pot of dollars that you can tap state funds to purchase those lands. So there's options. There's options there depending on which property it is. There's also a couple of other macro level things that are at play. You probably know about the recent vote to take the corporate business tax monies at the state level. By referendum, the voters approved a permanent funding source for open space and farmland preservation purposes. That was great. It took it away from the bonding issues that they've been doing for the last 40 to 50 years. However, the amount of dollars that generates is right now half of what the normal allocation was. That will go up year after year as the corporate business tax percentage goes up, but it will really tap out about half of what the state has normally had for preservation programs annually. So what that means is it's going to be more competitive. There's going to be less landowners annually that are able to preserve their properties. Figuring that, the projection that you see is estimating if we were able to get one farm done each year for the next 8 years, what we would have in place. Obviously, the amount of targeted farms exceeds one farm per year. There's more than 8. So at the end, you see basically an end to this. My experience doing land preservation for the last 25 years is that a decade is not enough time to estimate when everyone will preserve their properties. It's a long term, it's a decade type of approach. So don't think that the demand in 8 years out is going to be for an additional $1 million. That's really not realistic. And again, there's a lot of wild cards here that we just can't predict in terms of landowner interest in self-development.
So I think the question that everybody has is if we went ahead with bonding, what was the number, 970,000, let's just say that number was approved. That bond would be paid back out of the current open space fund, which is a 4-cent tax that we collect every year.
Right.
So if we had to pay that bond using the open space fund, would you still have enough money to execute this plan?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's...
this plan is factoring that.
Okay, and I think that's what everybody really is concerned with, that we're not going to negatively impact our ability to preserve open space.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, what we'll do as your consultants is, if there's not enough funds for a project and the landowners, we're going to find a way to get it funded. You know, there are other mechanisms that we can proceed than just tapping your own open space trust fund.
Right, so while we're talking about the open space trust fund, there's a question for you, because I know there's been some misinformation out there that the funding of the park would increase taxes. So I just wanted you to clarify for everybody here, if we did go out and bond this, the money is going to be coming out of a dedicated resource stream that has no impact on the general fund and would have no impact on increasing taxes. Regardless of how much we ended up bonding, it would all come out of the open space fund.
Correct. The voters of this municipality have approved 4 cents as the threshold to bring in money to fund open space projects. At 4 cents, that brings you about $239,000 this year. Right? That could go up next year just based upon assessed values and how markets do. But it will still stay at 4 cents, but you still might wind up collecting more as time goes on, or you could collect a little less. Haven't seen it go down, seen it go up. So even if you project out over 10 years, $240,000 is $2.4 million. You have this $970,000 bond that you accrue, and you pay it out over 10 years. You're still going to be left with $1.4 million that you've collected, net, but plus there's interest too that you're wind up paying, so it could be a little bit less. But you will have that stream of money coming in annually to pay down both principal, interest, and anything else that, if you're saying $200,000 is going to come back from auction, that goes back in. There's going to be different costs and different revenues associated with open space.
So the current tax stream that exists today would not change, would not have to change, and we could still fund the project, and it would not increase our taxes.
Correct.
Okay, so, all right. So Brad, I think this is where you're going to look at the funding options that,
Funding options, of course, you would have to run everything through financial professionals or hired by the township. But you have a couple options, right? So originally when we proposed this, we wanted to do this without having to issue any debt. And at the original estimation, we could have done it without issuing. The new estimation would require some source of financial instrument. You could permanent bond, you could do it for 10 or 20 years. In fact, you probably could go out and extend it for 30 years. This is a capital project. You're literally creating an asset to the community. This isn't like an expense, a typical expense of running a municipal budget, where the expenditure, you get a benefit for less than a year, that's an expense. This is creating an asset to the community. Is it going to give you a dividend of monetary value? No, it's going to give you a dividend of quality of life. And it's going to be here into perpetuity. It has a useful life of minimally 50 years, but it's going to be here as long as we maintain it. So you're creating an asset, and you can fund it with a liability that matches the useful life. I think to the extent, the longest term you could probably go, and I don't know this for actual fact, but I believe it's 30 years. But our recommendation would be to bond the full amount, 970, over a 20-year period. Now, we didn't get an actual rate from the bond company.
yes, sir, but we were expecting the bond attorney to be here tonight. But I think he got caught up and couldn't make it, so.
So using an assumption that with the municipality, with a dedicated revenue source, in my experience, having served on a school board, I think a 2% interest rate is probably something that is achievable. I don't know that. You really need counsel and others to quantify that.
I think if I may.
Yeah, absolutely.
The only thing, and I agree, it has a longer useful life. You could go out for permanent financing on this issue and have the payback period over a 20, 25, and 30-year period. That's something bond counsel will take into account when they write the ordinance to go ahead and get this money. My only concern with that is you're not bringing a large instrument into the marketplace. So you're not, if you were bringing something in that costs $3 million, it'd be a lot more attractive to investors to say, and you get more bids at a better interest rate at that level. But when you bring something in under $1 million, you get a hard time getting bidders to come and bid on that because they really don't want to deal with that. So they'll throw out a larger interest rate because they're going to make money over the time. So 2% on bond anticipation notes is absolutely dead on, and that's what I projected, and you learned that later on tonight. But 2% for a serial bond, I don't know if you're going to get that kind of interest rate. But
So we would need counsel, but I think what you said is we should spend $3 million on it.
I just lay out the options.
I think what you're saying is that we need to look at the other capital projects and just combine.
You could, but then it takes into effect the average useful life of all of those projects.
Right.
And when you're talking about 3-year vehicles get lumped in with a 35-year project, you're squishing it. You would still take the portion from open space to pay the open space portion.
Mm-hmm.
So it still wouldn't involve any hits to taxes based on that. If you took And we're looking at, and hypothetically, we have 2.2 million in projects, and then we added the 970 to it. Now you're over $3 million, and now if you put that to the market, but we'll talk about more about that later.
If you do temporary financing on these, based on the preservation projects they're looking at, can they throw more principal at it each year?
Absolutely.
To get it back down,
What I
rather
think-
than being stuck in a,
Great point. What I think from what I'm hearing is you never know when these projects come up. So you may have a piece of property that comes up like that, and then you wish you were more liquid so that you could pay it. So rather than paying down proceed after, don't pay down all the principal in 1 or 2 years and leave yourself with no cash balance. Right. Pay it down steady over time so you maintain that cash balance, so that gives you the maximum flexibility to go ahead and purchase these properties as they come up. So,
So,
I think we need to get the options laid out, like doing the short-term financing through the anticipation of renewing each year at a lower amount if you want to pay back some of the principal each year. I mean, the other option that was on the table was to complete it in more phases as the cash comes into it. The problem with that is to do it and finish it the way we want is now going to put this out probably another 5 or 6 years, realistically. And we don't want to do that, quite honestly, because one is, it started and we want to deliver this sooner than later. And the borrowing costs, and this is my opinion, I believe the borrowing costs are far less than what your labor rates, your equipment rates, asphalt, everything that goes into putting this in will increase over the next 5 years. They'll probably outpace the 2% interest rate. They'll probably increase at a cost much higher than that. So even though you'll incur interest at 2% or whatever it ultimately winds up being, it'll be actually beneficial to the community to borrow and pay for it upfront now and to phase it in over 5 or 6 years, because the cost of phasing it in over the years will most likely exceed what the interest cost will be. That's an opinion. I mean,
right, and agree 100%. If you went out and did this project and approved this 970, I would say get this as quickly as possible so that they can wrap up this project and be done with it. The only thing that goes long term is the payback of the project. You know, like I told you last week, let's come up with our capital plan first, and then we put a debt plan in place to show you how you're going to pay for it. And I think that's where you're at now, is to figure out how much you're actually going to spend, and then what's that debt plan and that debt repayment going to look back over the next 10 years. So, and the other thing that goes along with that is, if you went out and did a permanent bond, a serial bond, for 25, 30 years, you only have to go out once, but the issuance costs on that are tremendous. You know, you're talking about $85,000 in soft costs between your financial advisors, your auditors, your attorneys, all that. So there's a price associated with that, whereas your bonding attorney is the only one that gets involved in getting a bond anticipation note renewed each year. You may have some costs with him, but it's not going to be anywhere to the tune of something ridiculous like a bond cost.
Is there a limitation on how many times you can do an anticipation note?
10 years.
So you can do 10 years of bond anticipation.
And you don't have to pay, remember, if we go back to last week, you don't have to pay for the first 3 years principal if you don't want. You only have to address interest. But if you're in a situation where you could pay $100,000 a year and you're bringing in $240,000, it would make sense to put something towards principal each year. But again, that's the governing body decision to make at budget time or.
So, but the only risk of running with bond anticipation notes is versus a longer term note where you're doing permanent debt instrument, is that you don't know what the interest rates are going to be 1 year, 2, 3, or 5 years from now. Whereas on a longer term bond, you can lock it in and you're guaranteed that rate for the term of the loan. I agree. Upfront costs are higher, but from a plan perspective, you have a schedule that you'll know over the course of the next, 20 years from now. Whereas with anticipation, you're kind of at the will of the market for the short-term interest rates.
So let's go down that road of a long-term note. Let's say we wanted a bond $970,000. With the interest rate and everything, the long term, how much would the payment be every year if we were going to pay principal and interest? Well,
It will fluctuate.
I had under, again, the assumptions I put in here, 970, 20 years, 2%, principal and interest combined, annually it's around $59,000 a year.
so that's 1 cent.
And then we have to factor in maintenance, right?
Oh.
Part of maintenance, so, and that's the expense that will also come out of the open space trust fund.
So, and this is just an example, so the committee has something that they can compare this to. If we did the 20-year, if we went with that for 970, plus, what do we estimate for maintenance yearly? 50,000.
Originally, the estimation on the May 16th proposal, the original proposal was just over $31,000. There's still some figures in here that we need to confirm a little bit more.
We would think it closer to 50.
Fifty.
It affect itself a lot with the seating option we take too.
Yeah, seating option.
That's huge, very.
So let's just use 50 as an example, plus the repayment, so you're talking close to 2 cents to pay for the park maintenance and debt out of the 4 that we
Yeah,
collect.
it's a little less.
A little less than 2 cents out of the 4. That would leave for open space 2 cents, which I think you're saying would cover the switch project, right?
That's not built in.
It's all built into what.
Okay. So, is there anything else you want to add, Brian?
I think, I mean, if there was anything you wanted to proceed with tonight, so since the longer-term permanent financing is something that you really need to get more information on, you can always do that later on, but I think doing a bond anticipation note probably makes the most sense in the short run, and then you can revisit that at any time.
You can always roll a bond anticipation note into warrants and
You
lines.
can do that at any time. So if you wanted to, you could vote on this tonight and approve the bond anticipation note.
Well, that was my next question, so what is it that the OS committee is looking for from the town committee tonight?
I don't want to speak on behalf of everybody, but I think, you know, we want to deliver a project which community deserves. And we want to deliver it in the right way. We want it to be done on time. If we don't finance it, it's not going to be delivered. I don't think you really have much. Phasing in over the next 5 or 6 years is just, to me, senseless. It's going to cost more. You're going to have a half-finished park, and all you're going to do is frustrate everybody who really wants the park. Majority of the time.
It's not only that, you're not going to be able to use the park really for the 5 years. You're going to be paying for a park that you can't use. And you're not even starting to retire debt for the 5 years. So, I know it sounds to me like you're better off to bite the bullet up front in the 5 years. At least they were 5 years down the road paying off the debt. That's what I'm hearing.
Well,
Unless John's going to correct me, because sometimes I don't put numbers together right.
so is it, this is clear, so if we're going to make a motion, that motion would be to approve X amount of dollars to go out for some kind of financing? What would the motion be, John?
We have to do a bond ordinance to get this going.
Oh, no, what would the motion be, that, what would we have to say?
Well, the bond ordinance is what would, you have to have an introduction of an ordinance.
State authorized the bond company
For X amount of dollars? Okay, so that's what, that,
Do you need that in order to do bond anticipation?
Yes, absolutely. And then you're going to need supplemental debt statement, you're going to need a whole bunch of stuff
Right.
before it issues.
but the decision tonight is to approve
To approve
the bond ordinance at X amount of dollars,
Yep.
to go ahead with it.
And I think you,
and before that, you need to authorize the total cost.
Yes. Well, the ordinance will address phase 1, because you're still paying for that out of the open space trust fund.
Right.
The only thing you're looking to do now is phase 2, and to put an ordinance together for the $970,000. That's the only.
That's more of an internal
Yeah.
number for you guys than the overall.
you'll still need to come up with a 5% down payment. You can't come from open space trust fund. That'll still come out of capital improvement fund. It's going to be a bit of a tight. What is the 5%? Whenever you go out for any kind of bonding, you have to put at least 5% down. And,
Of the value of the,
yes, of the total project.
of the project or the bond?
Of the ordinance. The ordinance is roughly $1 million and $50,000.
Which, can you use the deferred dollars?
Right now,
Not
you
right
wouldn't
now.
have it. You have about $42,000. Because if you're looking at doing all of those other projects that we're going to talk about later, you still have to come up with $67,000 for those items, and you're only left with about $43,000.
The 67 is if we go for all of those on that list, right? So,
With the exception of the ambulance, we're going to push that one back to 2019.
right.
But if your ordinance is to specifically request a bond for open space projects, that 5% doesn't come from the open space fund,
Not allowed to come from open space, has to come from capital improvement fund,
even though it's an open space.
even though it's an open space fund. I actually researched that, because I thought that
Can you cite where the
And, it's a big green book, though.
All right, time out though. We have 900 and, what was the first approval? There's 300,000 left.
962?
There's $300,000 that we didn't use in the first approval. Is that available?
That's where I was going with it. If you don't do it, if you say, this phase one earthwork for $187,000, we can charge that directly to open space and reduce the amount of money that the ordinance is going to ask for. You know, this project here in
That's
total,
true, we do have that option.
$970,000.
Right.
But are there pieces of it that you could take and send to open space and reduce the amount of that ordinance?
Exactly, 292,000 left out of the original 162.
292?
Yes, 292.
292.
So we might be able to reduce the 970 by that number.
I'm not sure about that. So I think on this schedule that Frank put together, it has the 650 that's already been either spent or will be spent. Right. And then the remaining of the project at 1.33, which is the total project cost. And then 970 coming in.
With the 1.33 comes from.
That's the difference. That's the difference of what the total project cost and the 650.
What was the 961, 728 number?
That was the original appropriation from open space, So this schedule says that if we spent based on the bids and funded 970, this is what it's like. So I think it's already kind of accounted for. The bigger question would be talking about 5%, how much you have to do or not. Oh, yeah. You know, if you guys are that tight.
You'd have to cut $130,000 out of it in order to get it down to $840. You have $42,000 that you need for a down payment, and that's the money that you have right now. You have $42,000 for a down payment, which means if the project was $840,000, you're compliant because 42 is 5% of the 840. Right now, the project's at 970, so you have to move $130,000 at least to pay out of open space trust before you can go ahead and do that ordinance.
That was one of our options, right? We did talk about that. So maybe-
830?
That would be,
We have some other options. We're going to elaborate on
I don't know if you want to talk about it. I know we did have a plan B.
What is, until when, but, so right now you're saying you're 42, but it doesn't when?
that's as of the end of the year. 12/31/16, you have a balance. They added $100,000 to their capital improvement fund. They're looking at putting $67,000 into different miscellaneous projects, and it's leaving them with $42,000. Right now, there's $110,000 in there because they haven't approved the other items that they're purchasing. There's $110,000, but if you approve those items that we're going to talk about later, that's $67,000 worth of down payment money. Once that comes out, you're left with $42,000. Almost $43,000.
That's what we're going to talk about next.
Well, why don't, maybe, I don't know where you want to go next, but maybe we should talk about, and let the public know what's in front of us.
Well, yeah, I don't have a problem moving on, but we're done with the open space.
Does this still include the extras, the ones that we bidded? Is like the $80,000 flagpole in here?
No, 15.
Oh, 15? All right, what was the 80 that we talked about that one time? There was something that was way out there on the flagpole, or?
Oh, that was the dense graded aggregate. That was the DGA parking lot repairs, which I said.
Okay, all right.
That number is completely preposterous.
And there's no flagpole in this $1.93 million project.
No, it's not part of this.
No.
No, it's on one of the alternate.
15 grand.
15 grand for a flagpole.
Okay, yeah, I know it's
I think we have some commitment, otherwise I don't want to speak to it definitively, but we have commitment where somebody will take care of that. At no cost.
He's down 1,500
So,
bucks.
maybe at this point, we open up to questions to the OS committee on any of these items. Unless anybody, I know Mark, you didn't speak, I don't know if you got, I know that had.
I don't want to go into too deep about the flexibility and the options that we have in the project, but again, with these seed options, there's been some discussion with the farmer to go alternate routes and save ourselves some considerable money. The problem is it's all perspective, it's not definitive, so I don't want to lay it out there, but there's about 4 things here that we could possibly flex around and maybe make that work. Bring it in on a number a little bit lower. I don't want to speak and commit certain entities in the town for doing work that they might not be authorized or approved to do, but eventually that's something that we will discuss, and I think it's one of those things that have to reach you guys and discuss it with your department heads on that. Like I said, the flagpole, the seating is a big one. So the seating is, I think we have in excess of 20 acres, talking about taking a good portion of that, maybe not the full 20, but probably about 15, 16, and making it simple for the farmer and actually putting a hay option in there. That way, not only does it help us for this cost with seeding, it also helps us in the maintenance side. I don't think anybody on this board, open space, is objection to that whatsoever.
There's also the hay.
Yeah, I didn't want to
Another
commit it.
item of potentially a big savings, we might see.
It's hard for us to guesstimate that, only because I think there's a few entities that are involved in that shared service agreement, so I didn't want to commit to that. But it is something we talked about.
Let's not commit any shared services. Let's just say we're going to have the co-op not do the walking path, because I don't think that's a co-op line item, but they certainly can come in and do the parking lot and the driveway. And the co-op, Morris County co-op. So you're $60 a ton versus $95.
What co-op? Who are we talking about?
We're talking about Tilcon.
Oh, you're just talking about a tonnage price, not counting for labor to install.
No, that's installed. So that's $50,000 right there. I mean.
So you're saying that's
yeah.
a state bid contract?
Yeah.
For the person to place it?
What was the bond number we need to get?
Yes, truck,
Okay,
install, package. So that's $61 a ton versus.
so we gotta cut 120.
So, I mean, that's a big item.
We don't have to cut 120.
If we do something in capital,
We have capital that
that you think we could cut,
I think we can cut.
okay?
That's why I like to move on to capital.
We'll be as flexible as possible, like we have been. I mean, we're trying to be as frugal as possible too, and be smart, so we don't, We have some flexibility built in here, but I just can't come out and say it's definitely going to be that way. I think there is some considerable savings on the table, and I think we will see them, but it's still not committed.
So are we going to go September 30th, April?
Let's see what they say.
We will anticipate that.
I mean, if they had something to discuss.
Let me just throw one more thing out there. Right now, he's just been talking to Kathleen, there's about a $900,000 cash balance in open space. That's before you get the $240 coming in from this year's taxes. According to Mike, we still got electric work going on, so we're still going to pay bills to the tune of about $50,000. If that's the only bill that's out there, you know, I haven't looked at it, I don't know what it is, I don't know what other expenses might have been charged, but that still leaves you a million, almost $1.1 million sitting in open space trust fund right now. Now, that doesn't account for the $500,000 that you're going to have to use to purchase the property. But even if you used it, you're still looking at $550,000 in there. I'm not saying, you know, one of your options is not necessarily just to cut and remove one of these things, but actually to move the expense, charge it to open space. Just charge it to open space. Take phase 1 earthwork. That's just top of the list. Part of phase 1, charge it off to open space trust, $187,000. Boom. That puts you at about, you could come up with an $800,000 bond anticipation note.
Which is what?
Have $40,000 down payment, which you have. And if there's any overages on that ordinance, you'll wind up canceling it later on. But, or any if you come in under budget, you can cancel that later on.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's exactly stuff that we did consider.
You know, I think we're looking at this in a different way. But that's not clear. This is a variance to the original estimation. And that might be
Hold on, but John's point
I know,
is
yeah.
still correct. He used the wrong example.
Well, yeah, but
that
the remaining, to deliver that, the remaining spend is $1.3 million. $1.3 million. Right. You have that, plus you have another 520 paid down. So you've got 1.8 million expended left in open space. You got a bond in 970 to keep your cash positive in 17 if all the expenditures for that in 17. Unless some of the expenditures get deducted.
But we're gonna award. Let's this will be very simple. Assuming we make an award of a contract, just the base bid items, okay? $373,000. Okay. Those bills would be paid out of the open space trust fund as all the other charges have been for all the phase 1 work.
Right.
So that's $400,000 that is paid. It sounds like A, available, and B, does that not solve the problem?
Yeah.
I mean, but the point I'm making is that that's future charge.
Well, one thing said, they're just overages. They're just overages. These are general flow things. These are variances to the original estimate.
Okay, but earthworks, we have $50,000 left to pay.
Correct.
So let's just talk about cash. So right now, I have $903,000 in cash in the open space fund. And let's say, take 50 off of that, we owe earthworks. Now bring back in the 2017 tax, brings us back up to that $1 million. So just in a cash, forget the projects and the phases, just keep on the cash. You understand what I'm saying? So I think we're still cash positive with that plan.
1-1, but then you've got 500 to cash out,
Yes.
goes out.
And we know we're paying that out this year, correct?
And then if you are going to award the bid, you have to have the funds certified and available.
Well, you have to go through the ordinance process.
That authorizes spending
So you can't authorize it unless you have the funds, and you're not going to have the funds unless you have the funds.
the full
For the plan.
970.
Yeah. Because the remaining spend is like $1.3 million. Finish the fund. Now, if you take, in this schedule that Frank has, that 1.3 is all in 17. Cash flow may not get all paid in 17. It won't get all paid in 17. Part of it probably isn't that the next day. But
The real
real number we need is 1.3 million. That's all we should be thinking about, right?
From a cash perspective, yes.
So forget this. Put 1.3.
This is to show, this was to show
Yeah.
variance figures. Yeah, if this bottom number is not under the cash, without minus what we spent.
Hold on. Well, Mike, what was the base bid amount for phase two?
$373,000.
Do we or don't we have that in cash? Why can't we do only that? Why can't we take that out of the, why can't we take that out? Why can't we just pay for that and then we go and bond the rest? I don't know. I mean, this is simplified to me. I'm
It
not,
looked like we were bonding for the 970 to begin with, and now it's 1.3.
No, you're
no,
not.
That's
no. To me, it sounds like,
Okay, you already paid the 60. You got the 300 and whatever change.
Right.
Okay? 300 that you still need to spend for phase one.
no, 50,000 is still next
50,000, okay?
Right.
So you're still gonna have, basically, you're still gonna have that 1.3.
Yeah, we get-
But you're gonna have to bond with that 350, because we would have had it already in our phase one. Yeah, you already have it.
The remaining spend on the original estimate, we have the cash flow. We need to bond.
I thought the remaining spend was 50,000.
No, that's the actual bills coming in, but still, but the whole park is $2 million.
We're using part of that.
650. You still need 1.3, okay? But the 300 was already accounted for,
One.
and because we've got that authorized, and now it's supposed to come out of our space, so we only need $1 million for a lot of this situation.
I got it. We were gonna use part of that for phase two.
Little thing, I just gotta check it out.
And tricky.
970 minus the 650. 970 was approved,
Right.
650, which is already spent, so it's $300,000 worth of available.
And that was taken for phase two.
Yeah,
Right.
but what was,
Right.
You guys straight yet, John?
No. And the only thing I want to tell you is that I'm just not comfortable giving you any further advice until I have an accounting of the project. I have no reason to not believe anything that's done, but I need to see it before I offer any more advice on anything else. Unfortunately, we have to have another meeting. I mean, it's only summer. You guys are doing your due diligence, though. I commend you for going through this process.
John, there's still the cap of the 5% in the capital improvement fund, the 42,000, which would generate a maximum bondable limit of 840,000.
Correct.
So if the $840,000 is enough bonded funds to complete as much of this as possible, is that the way to go?
And here's one other option that I can think of off the bat. Is there anything that you can push off into 2018? Is there anything on this list that says, okay, you know what, we're not going to use the park this year, so maybe we don't have to do this now. We can do it early in 2018, and then we can plan for that in next year's budget.
Yeah.
Half
the playground.
You're saying you don't want to go 5 years and do this.
No,
I don't want to do that.
No, what I mean is, when you say push that, you mean actual cash payment or appropriation?
Appropriation. Let's say the playground, just hypothetically, it's almost $100,000 around it. If you don't do the $100,000 in this ordinance to come down to that $840,000 level, could you put the playground up in the spring of 2018?
That was $125,000.
Then we'll at least have an opportunity to put the budget together, have some more capital improvement fund money in there, in case we need to, add to the existing bond.
What was the dollar amount for the playground?
125.
That's just,
31.
John, here's a good way to explain it to you. That 96.4 is in addition to what was appropriated or
25,000.
planned for the thing, so it's actually 125,000 for that playground. That's where your numbers,
131,000.
That's where we gotta get on the same.
Yes.
I agree.
So, I guess the question is if we could put the 125,000 off until next spring.
Can I? Well,
Good.
you're just pushing it off to 2018, where are the funds coming from? Well, you're gonna have another open
Tax.
space tax. Okay, so that's the whole reason for us to be in money is to show you how we implement the fleet fund, the open space fund. And that's what we tried to lay out for you here, to show in case an acquisition had to come in, we had the money there. We could always knock that bond number down if you allow us to spend more, but we didn't want to deplete the funds down so far as not to be able to move
Well-
forward on a possible acquisition.
You wouldn't be depleting it, right? It would be, you still have 1 cent available, and it's only 1 year.
Well, yeah, it's the cash flow in 2017, it's a very sticky issue. Now, I mean, we know the ODOT expenses will occur this year, that's the plan. We don't know of any others. So, the amount of time it takes to get the closing is, unfortunately, it's ridiculous, it's at least 12 months. So, the likelihood of us needing cash for an acquisition is very low for 2017.
And don't forget, in 2018, our projection here of 461, 462,000, that includes the auction too.
Right.
So, you don't know.
It's to get you over this 2017 hump.
Yeah, so we may or may not have that since those years.
So Frank, if we went this route, you think that's okay? Like paying for the playground with the replenishment of the OS fund?
Yes, yeah, it's to get you to the next 7 months, 6 months, right, next week? Yep.
6 months.
That's why.
And that's if somebody comes to you between now and the end of the year. If they're gonna come to you the first quarter, you're looking at 2019
What?
to close on the project.
Right.
Yes, so based off your
You
projection.
following us here? Huh?
Like I said earlier.
You just want to get all the
the
numbers.
accounting of it before we go.
The Phase 1 earthwork, the 187.9. Forget that.
You should,
Make
that based on.
That's a change.
Put away.
No, that's what I'm getting at. The reality is, we only owe $50,000. That's the reality. So I'm telling John, forget that number. That's not the reality. 50 grand, which I have sitting in open space. So we can take that off. And that brings us down.
You're looking at these numbers as if these are estimates for work. It's not.
These are changes.
We understand that. He has it, but he wants to see the numbers before he gives any more advice on it.
I know, but I've already paid earthworks, and we're done with them after I pay them another 50.
All this was the reconciliation to say, this one estimate is X,
Yes.
the other estimation is Y.
Right.
And the difference is 970, and this is what makes it.
Right. But do we agree that I paid earthworks? I mean, I only owe him $50,000.
And that 50 is a general number. I mean, I have to go look at the contract amounts and whatnot. It's around $50,000, just, you know.
So of bondable money, take that out.
If you're comfortable with pushing it off to 2018, I think that's something we can.
Pushing what off to
It's
28?
not a matter of comfortable, if I'm hearing, the most we can bond is $800,000 is about.
If we go
That's
with-
what the bottom line is.
Well, that's if we
The
go.
bottom line is,
capital.
yeah, is that if we get that, that's the bottom line.
We're gonna have to shave in areas that we think we can
Yeah.
do, and then not only that, if we have to, if you would recommend push off what portion of that project of $125,000 until the 2018 year. Now that I know that acquisitions that maybe open space may have won't really come to fruition until 2019, I think the flexibility's there. The big problem was the 2017 bottom line.
Yeah.
So, I think that's somewhat very doable from the OS.
Your big problem's 2017 bottom line, our big problem is we can't borrow more than 800,000. That's where we're at.
So, before we move on, everybody on the committee saw the specs and what the OS committee is proposing for the build-out. I mean, now's your chance if you have any questions on what's being proposed. If you think you like it, you don't like what's being proposed, if you want changes, I think now's your time, so.
So Frank, what you're asking is, are we comfortable with increasing it from 961 up to the 1.9? Total changes are 970,000.
Well, are you comfortable with everything they're proposing? Are you comfortable with the
Well, I
pavilion.
said on the open
understand.
space, and I made my opinion known to them, and I think that's why they came with the...
And I'm just saying, now's the time to speak out if you're not comfortable with what's being proposed. No?
Anybody having any questions or what? Comments? Up here?
So from the open space, committee sitting there, are you gonna pull out that playground, or are you gonna leave it?
I think the intention, and this is me speaking,
'Cause
I would think the intention is to shave the cost in other areas that I projected out earlier, hoping it could be done. The plus was that the playground equipment was part of the state bid contract, so it can be picked up at any time and not have to be put out the bid.
Similar to the pavilion.
Correct. So the flexibility is in those two projects that will be state bid. If we can shave enough on, we can just put it in at the same time. If not, we wait until 2018.
Well,
And we together.
I'm gonna have a problem with that.
So we're just gonna reduce it by 130, and you'll make a decision
I want
later
the playground.
on
We're
what,
gonna put the
No,
playground.
no,
What that is.
I want, yeah, I want that in 28, you know,
Well, you don't get it sooner.
okay.
But-
Well, I want it before 20,
Sooner, yeah.
we're gonna have to figure out a way.
Well,
Because-
I think even if you don't serve, I think if I look at,
I'm figuring by the spring, you'd have a playground in there.
Yeah,
That's what I'm figuring. We're just gonna pay cash for it rather than bond it. Am I right, John, with that?
speaking, Kathleen, I think we need to.
We can do that?
Certify funds
Yeah.
in 2018.
But I can't.
Do it right off the
All right, well, okay.
It's not that we're
I
cutting
don't
the
want,
playground.
I don't wanna push it off further than 2018.
I just had a sidebar with Kathleen, and we know we have to certify funds and prove they're in the account to spend them.
When you see this
We
project,
just
that,
thought, I think that
when you
there's
see this
enough
project, you're
money
not
there
gonna
to
use it, spring it when it's the fall.
playground
Yeah.
in the early
A
part
minimum.
of
So you
2018
can't use the
without
field,
even
so
certifying
you can
funds.
just use and
There's
construct the
enough in there
playgrounds
for
on
that.
it.
Right.
So,
So, 'cause you got a whole another year to wait.
and that'd be worst case scenario, Phil.
so we're saying we're okay with what's the new bond amount?
800. 840.
Okay, so now we can talk.
That's the
I
max.
have to get together with Mike. We need to do this again.
Okay.
I gotta get an accounting of where we're at as of today, the open space trust fund, and an accounting of what we've spent so far on the project, and what still remains on the project. I have those two pieces of information, I'll give you a much nicer picture.
Can the township governing body pass a motion tonight to authorize the ordinance subject to your command?
Mm-mm.
They can, but what's gonna happen is your bonding attorney is gonna take a close look at it, and I don't think he's gonna allow it if you're gonna be asking for what you're asking for. 840, yes, but,
That's what I'm talking about.
you're gonna have to be specific with the bonding attorney of what makes up that 840.
You have to know the plan.
You have to have a plan, absolutely.
We have the hard numbers that are actually,
Yeah, that's, actually, I like Rick. That is, we could do that easily and be able to. I mean, if we have to be creative, the alternate bid items is, I think we can definitely do it.
we have to make a motion to, for the re-estimation of 1.931. Or is that all part of the same ordinance?
I think you just need to make a motion to approve the bonding attorney, come up with a bond, or a bond ordinance, up to 8,000. I think you guys.
Don't worry, no, these aren't numbers, look at these aren't numbers. These are differences.
Right.
These aren't the numbers. You gotta look at the night sheet.
Even
Look there.
with the difference is,
And just it'd be easier if you look here, look at the playground.
process.
Look at where is it?
What's that?
Hold on, push it, give me a look at.
Yeah. Okay, so
So,
John, what we need tonight, will we do this now, or are we gonna wait until later for the motion to authorize the bond attorney to prepare an ordinance for 840,000, or we wanna wait until after we talk about all of our other
I
bonds?
think this is a separate issue than those other items, so you
No, that's a difference though.
one issue here, and then
That's, what this is,
after we
this
talk
is
about the other ones,
the
we'll
one
talk
six
about
thousand,
that,
the original estimate.
do it later and say, and we can change it later and say, do everything all in one shot.
Okay.
Can I ask John a question?
Sure.
Which is not been discussed or directly looked at. We opened bids on this project June the 7th, so they're already out 3 weeks about it. We have 60 days. Are we going to be in a position to award a contract? No. I didn't think so.
No, because we're talking about doing a lot of things with your open space money.
I know.
If you turn around and buy that piece of property, and then you authorize a bid, you spend $500,000 out of the $1 million you have. You're only left with $500,000. You can't authorize a project for more than $500,000.
The bond has to be,
That's why the bond
the
has to
second
be
reading
done
of the
first.
bond ordinance has to, and then there's another,
and then
what,
there's
how
a
many
stop
days?
period.
20 days, right?
Another 20 days.
What was the base bid number?
373.
379,
373, 864.
374.
Does that help us if we accept the base bid and not the alternate?
So have you guys decided what alternates you've chosen and what the okay, so what's that real number then? No, what's the actual number?
Mike would have to, Mike has the actual document.
Okay, that's...
I'll go to the top.
Didn't go that last year. I didn't, record it. And we went to 83. That's it.
today, after this.
Yeah, I'm almost done.
Is this number going to help you at all, John? You still need it all?
No, I need it all.
Okay, so we're just wasting time with this number. You're still not going to be able to offer your advice. You like
Yeah,
it?
tell us what the number is, the very finished project.
So, the bare bones is what needs to be constructed. Pavilion and playground, not included. $731,000. That's all the base bid items, plus... Well,
Let's move on.
wait.
Okay. No, I think what's going to have to happen here is John and Mike are going to have to talk over the numbers.
Brad, you should probably join that conversation.
Brad, get everything prepared, then we're going to need another meeting to talk about this, or are they numbers you can,
I can supply you with.
well, are they numbers you can just give to the bond attorney to prepare? You're right, okay.
The only thing I think Mike was getting at in the beginning of this was that not meeting the 60-day, which is something that doesn't seem like it's going to happen. You're going to have to go back out to bid, and you can't guarantee the numbers. And
That's no
we're
good.
going to have to include costs
Can't go back out to
for him
bid.
to prepare the bid, the new bid, so there's another added cost. This is where it gets out of control. That's where Mike was going with it, I think, right, Mike?
Exactly. Yeah, you're right. There's this other cloud behind us that's we haven't talked about. That's our timeline.
It's not even so much a timeline, it's the timeline with accepting a bid or...
Well, it's the public contracts law.
Yeah.
We have 60 days.
And when's the 60 days end on it?
Say August 7th, but maybe plus minus a day. Bid opening was June 7th.
Well, would we be able to award that bid by the next meeting, so, no? Because everything has
Have the
to,
funding in place.
the funding.
It has to go through that.
The ordinance. It's all out of open space, and you're paying for it all out of a trust fund where you have the money. It's a
Right.
different story. Once you bring bonding into it, then you're going to have to play by the bonding rules, and because now there's debt associated with it, and you have to go through the first reading, second reading, estoppel period, and then you have to go and award a contract at that point.
Didn't he say there's like 6 weeks we can get everything done? And
Yes, he said best case scenario.
yeah,
Which takes us into the middle of August.
right.
Fast.
You're past the deadline anyway.
Deadline.
But then that gives you the authority to spend the money, and the authority to go out and raise the money to a bond.
It's the only way we do it. We can't do anything until the middle of August anyway.
Unless you take the base bid and then go out for the office. The base bid, you can pay for cash out of the trust fund.
If it's there.
That's what we were saying originally, they were saying no.
If you were gonna appropriate the 840 and knowing that the money was coming back into the account in, let's say, 3 months, we could essentially, we have enough in there because of the $500,000 for the Odell property. We can award the base bid.
Right.
And at the same time, move on and the alternates again.
We certainly have a strong argument with the county of Warren to delay the payment of the $500,000.
I was just gonna ask you that.
It cost you $100,000 for
Right.
road crew.
Right.
And you could certainly delay that until the third or fourth quarter.
Sound kosher to you, John?
There you
He's still not sure.
I can't like need to see everything. And we can make it happen. My deadline date is the 30th, so I still got a little back time to get out the door. But other than that, it's taken care of.
But correct me if I'm wrong, the purpose here is we don't want to put it out for bid again, right?
We're gonna.
Right. So we want to be able to use the current bids. And what he's suggesting is...
Well, you know what? As it stands right now, we're not going to be able to authorize it tonight. If we could do what you're proposing, we could do it at the July meeting, it's still before August 7th.
Yeah, that's true.
We can get a legal opinion from Lavery in the meantime with that. You can get your numbers. We probably can come up with an intelligent decision. The 19th, I think? No,
20th.
20th.
I think it's 20th.
The 20th. If that mechanism is going to work, we could approve it on July 20th and still be within the August 7th deadline for the contracts. Right?
We don't have funding in place, though.
No, they're saying
Yeah.
we could take, the base bid we would take out of the bond. Yeah.
If you could take it out.
Right.
Again, I want to see an accounting of the open space trust fund to see if you have that money.
Right, but Bob's point is that if we're going to do that, we have the time.
Yeah, we have the time to do that, and if we can't do that, we can't do anything tonight anyway.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's where we're at, so...
That's where
And
we're
are we
at.
trying to run an extra special meeting because of the capital improvement, the other one we were trying to run through in the 6
You were,
month
yes, we were talking about that. You have enough information, or you're going to get it, and then you can talk to Lavery too, to make sure the way we want to fund this is legal and acceptable? Okay,
Talk to Kathleen, I'll talk to Mike,
okay.
and we'll all get together and come up with our heads together. I need to know what we're on before. Yeah, right. What's left is a bend. That's what I need.
We've got, we'll spread out here. We're gonna get some of these thoughts across.
Okay.
So I would include Frank in that too, because Frank says that if we can use that 550,000 and not do to the fourth quarter, we can get more of the alternate bids included in that.
And I agree, but it's still going to be a 17 expense. So you still have to keep that in mind. So if you have $1 million in there now, you have to finish paying on the 50,000, whatever, the small one. And you got another $328,000 coming out for the bid. And you got another $550,000 coming out for the piece of property. You're getting closer to 150,000, and then we're getting late on that. So 100,000. That you're comfortable with that, you're ready.
Okay.
So,
Work it.
From here, Brad and I were having this. It all sounds great to award the base bid, but idealistically, it's the whole project. And I know we can't get confirmation from you, but this project flies to approval from this board. Then we're going to dump another $300,000 in the project price, and we're going to do a complete project after that. I know it's asking a lot forward, but how much more money do you want to put? Like you said, I don't think we have a...
Basically, the base bid work is only useful so since it's in the base work, you should do it all.
So you want a commitment from us tonight?
that we're going to bond the whole
You want
840?
some kind of vote saying that,
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we can make that motion. Hopefully we...
Shouldn't it really cost to rebidding it, be the advertising at this point? The work is done.
Yeah.
No, it won't. There's
Right.
limited cost.
What's limited by?
There's the advertising.
Well, then you have the cost, which is pretty hefty.
Like $500?
And then some more smaller part, obviously, too.
Yeah, I gotta give you a number, I gotta know.
What's hefty, Mike?
We have to know where we're at. And then on top of that, the opportunity that something will come out higher than we first. Okay.
$500, you said?
Jeez, that's not hefty.
Engineering costs plus advertising, so maybe 1,000, put that.
There's no engineering.
So then the bids that are there will be disqualified and
Available
And
for,
we gotta go
an
through this whole
open request.
process all over again.
Now, the question is, with that being said, we're gonna be back in front of you again with the 60-day rule unless we get appropriation for, not appropriation, but for the commitment that you're gonna fund the complete projects. But it doesn't sound like we should go out and spend base bid dollars until we know it's a complete project.
How are you gonna fund it until we find out how much the money's gonna be to give a commitment to it?
This, excuse me, this is going to do a little timetable here, and this is aggressive, and it's aggressive that this would be to actually have bond in place within the 60-day time, enabling an award to what I think we all would like to see in the perfect world. But that would require introduction of an ordinance next week, which that may be impossible. That's the clock has to start, next Wednesday. Yeah. And then the advertising in the paper, and then the 10 days, and then the second reading, and then the 20 days, it takes you to August 7th. Unless I'm missing something, but I think she's right. It puts the introduction of the bond ordinance on next week, which that may be impossible.
Intro in the 5th, newspaper will be on the 7th, 10-day window is the 17th, special meeting, public hearing, and adoption of the budget. Newspaper on the 19th, and then the 20-day historical for each of August 7th.
Somebody's working over the weekend.
I want waivers to call that. Are you counting like you know how if things land, or is it the day of, or does it start the next day? You know what I mean?
Starts the days and
Does that day count?
one.
Let me just ask a question, just out of curiosity. Let's say we be aggressive and go that route. When are they going to actually start doing the work on this? The project that we're bonding for, when does the shovel go in the ground? Does it go in the ground in 17? Some of this stuff gets done. Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. So there's a reason why we're rushing through to get to where we want to get to.
Well, there's also the reason that I'll speak for myself, I fear higher bids should we need to rebid. That's the way it typically works.
Even a short period of time after you reject the bid?
Because the cat's out of the bag.
They're gonna open those bids.
Yeah.
It's open to the public
And
now.
it happens, we've all done it, and it happens. And sometimes it comes in less. I've seen that happen. But more times than not,
we only
it's
have
higher.
2 bidders.
Yep, and we only have 2 bidders.
Not like we had 14 the first time. Big difference.
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
No, we're still back to, we can't do the 840 tonight, so I still say you all need to talk, come up with numbers, and then in the meantime, if we have to have an emergency meeting, we schedule
Well,
it.
it's scheduled tonight, you know, we can always cancel that meeting, right, Ken? We can schedule one for next Wednesday. I'll have to call in, but
It doesn't have to be Wednesday.
you can't hear.
I'm not going to be there, I can always call.
If the bonding is capped out at 840, can you make a motion to approve the funding and a bonding not to exceed 840.
That's a question for John.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, that's what we're talking about. You can't go and get a bond for more
If
than
we do that, then the difference
Let him
between
finish.
that and the 970 can be a cash flow issue that we can pay for one of the items,
Put some of the items
into 18. Yeah, I think we were agreed.
That's what we said, yeah.
Why don't we do the head with funding for the projects, bonding it at no greater than 840, or whatever the limit is that you are saying, and make a motion for the motion tonight.
So it sounds like you're looking for two motions, the full project amount and the bond amount.
That's where I don't know the procedure, but probably, you guys tell me, I don't know what you said.
But that still doesn't resolve the issue of the bidding, though, those two motions.
Because we don't know.
It allows you time to talk to labor and your council, like you both wanted to do, and see if the timeline is something that could be done. It either can or it can't.
It will, because then we know, we have a solid number of 840, we intro next week, and we're done.
Gives you a week.
That labor conversation has to be tomorrow morning. Yeah, I mean, it has to be tomorrow. Yep. You have no time.
All right, so Frank, you gonna make the motion?
Relax.
He's not back to, he's not here next week.
10 days.
Who's not here?
John.
Count the 7.
Special meeting you want for, the 6th? I'm not gonna be here next week either, so.
Well,
I
we
don't
can
know if
fit
I'm
it.
gonna be here. I don't know if I'm gonna be here next week either.
We need 4 votes for the bond.
And I
That's
can-
intro, you only need 3. You only need 3.
Well, I don't know that we have.
If I could just offer one last thing, if you don't want to use the 840, because I don't know what other changes you guys are going to make to the capital balance, you could say not to exceed whatever that 5% allowance would allow you. So if that goes up to 50, then you move that 840 can go up.
And then we're covered if it goes down, too.
And we're covered if it goes down. I don't know if you can write the ordinance that way.
I don't think there's a rush. There's not a rush for the bonding. The rush is for the bid.
Yeah, bids, yeah. Correct.
So we don't have to worry about, we can address this issue for the bonding at a regular meeting July 20th. Now we want to get over the hurdle for the town.
Yeah, no, it's both, Bob.
Guys are getting good at this,
Yeah. You can't award the contract
Oh, that money.
without having Ms. Ronaldo certifying the funds, you wouldn't be able to do if the bond is there.
Right.
That's the problem.
Okay, so we're not going to do that.
There's going to be a test on all this.
Yeah.
So it'll be a special meeting on the 5th, a special meeting on the 17th, and then a special meeting on the 7th.
Maybe you could do a straw poll on where everybody stands.
So you want to do a special meeting when?
To work this, it would have to be
Yeah.
a special meeting on July 5th. Special
I
meeting-
mean, I can call in if I have to.
Special meeting the 17th, and a special meeting August 7th.
What are the dates?
And our regular meeting's going to be 7:20.
7/5, 7/17, 8/7?
But this is just a special meeting to have the public hearing.
Yeah, no, I know, so, okay.
What are
Okay,
the dates?
Just call labor tomorrow morning.
7/5, 7/17, and 8/7.
We guys are.
When do we need 4 votes?
Kim, can you, Kim,
Which meeting is the
send
4
Labor a
vote?
text tonight to expect that call?
Which meeting is the 4 vote? meeting?
Right now, it's 7.
What are the dates
Well,
again?
we'll call him after the meeting.
Which meeting will, on the 17th, will we need the 4 votes, right? The 7th, there are only 3 votes, on the 17th, we need 4 votes, and on the 7th, we need 4 votes, right?
On the 5th, intro, you only need 3. You need 3 votes.
On the 7th?
17th,
17?
This is a special meeting, that's a public hearing, you would need the adoption, you would need 4 votes.
Okay.
Well, here's the issue with that. I don't think anybody here is going to want to spend money if we don't have 4 votes for the bond. So I would love to do a straw poll to see where everybody stands. Because I'm not going to go and start spending money on professionals if we don't have 4 votes for the bond. Why introduce it with 3 votes if we're not sure we got 4?
I'm good with the $840,000 bonding. I'm okay with it.
I'm okay with it.
I'm fine.
I don't have a problem.
All right.
I don't have a problem.
All right. That's all we need to know. All right.
Okay.
So,
So, I mean, what are the dates? The 5th, the 17th,
And the 7th,
August 7th?
yes.
Can we open public comment?
Okay. We have public comment at the end, and after we're done with all this, we're going to go through the same battle again for our regular bonding. I'm going to open up public comment now for anybody out there who wants to make any comments. In case you want to leave, you're certainly welcome to stay, but if you've had enough of this number crunching, you want to make your comments about this and go, we understand. So, I'll make a motion, we open public comment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone like to make any comments, questions, or ever, please step up, give your name and, you stand up? Anybody? Seeing none, make a motion to close public comment.
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
So now,
Sure. Okay, now I'm looking for a motion to authorize the bond attorney to prepare an ordinance to borrow up to $840,000.
I'll make the motion.
Any comments, questions, or
First reading on July 5th.
for first reading on July 5th, correct? Any questions, comments? Okay, roll call?
Wait, you need a second.
Oh, I said, no, he seconded it, that's how I opened it, yeah.
I'm sorry, who made the motion?
Frank.
Frank made the motion. Bill seconded it.
Yep.
That was for 840.
Yep.
Roll call. Henner.
Yes.
Dean.
Yes.
Spencer.
Yes.
Marqueta.
Yes.
Varsity.
Yes. Okay, now I'm looking for a motion to schedule special meetings for July 5th at 7 PM, July 17th at 7 PM, and August 7th at 7 PM.
Make the motion.
Okay, Will makes a motion, anybody second?
Second it.
Paul makes a second. Any questions, comments, roll call, please? Thanks for coming, everybody.
Yes. Yes.
Spencer.
Yes.
Marqueta. Varsity.
Yes.
Mayor Earl.
Yes.
The 5th, the 17th, and...
The 7th.
August 7th.
is all at 7.
Yes.
7 PM.
Nobody wants to stay for the other part?
This is the part that's gonna raise your taxes.
Yeah.
Okay, we're having a 5-minute recess. We're gonna shut down the...
We don't executive or we... Anymore.
It's on now.
Okay. Motion to come back from recess.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We got the,
Gotta hear John's plan.
your plan.
Gotta hear your plan.
Should we order out? This is gonna be a long one. I didn't eat it.
You got 5 minutes.
All right, wrap this up by 9:30.
Okay. I expect questions. I expect confusion. I just got a piece of information to add to the list, so we're gonna have to discuss that. And I had the answer, but I don't have it anymore in 3 minutes. We're doing that with open space.
So do I have that piece of paper that you,
Email.
The email from John Paul Reese.
oh, yes, that was the, IT.
Oh,
Bill, I
okay.
just sent you a text message from him.
Oh, okay, yeah,
See the text message?
I did see the
I
text
forwarded
message.
that.
Do we need Mike for this?
No, I don't think so.
We can,
Oh, here. Bob and I were discussing it, we can probably just Kathleen, can we find this someplace?
What's the total of this stuff?
It's,
I don't know, I haven't looked at it.
$530.
How much?
yeah, $9,500.
Well, here's my question. We didn't budget for it this year, but this is something that he's telling us we may be in violation of. If that's true, can we just do that on an emergency appropriation like we did last year? And pay it, defer it to 18?
I wouldn't even go that far.
Okay.
Paid out of the budget.
Pay it out of the budget. If it creates or comes close to creating a deficit, make an appropriation or a transfer at the end of the year. Budget
Okay.
transfers,
Take it from Joe's budget.
be done with it.
Okay,
Exactly.
so we're good with that? You got that? You're handling that?
Kathleen, I would just say the police department, see what that breakdown is cost-wise, and let the chief know that, hey, we might have to hit you up for whatever, you know.
With this email, you should have a copy of it somewhere in there, I think. The new IT guy said we only have one server, and he could find more, at least we don't have.
Okay, so you can go back to your,
If we're taking like 10,000, I don't know, $10,000, I'd have to just find it somewhere, but.
All right.
We didn't want 3 years this year.
I handed out 4 pages.
Oh, that's
The last
so
one
good.
you don't have to use.
Well, you got mine.
Open space.
That's
so
right.
we can Ignore that. The main page at the top, I'll refer to as page 1. I don't know if you want to mark them, so when we flip them back. That is the debt repayment plan. So if you want to mark that as page 1.
Okay.
The second page is the other legal size page, the third school tax reconsideration. We'll call that page 2. And then on the last page, the regular sheet, is your analysis of your capital improvement plan. This is where I came up with...
And what page, where is that?
I gotta find that one.
That's this guy right here. It was all in your, I gave you a 4-page packet. There's
Yeah,
2 of
this
these
one.
long ones.
What's the fourth sheet?
No, she only handed this out a few minutes ago.
You have a paper, it was paper clip. What's the fourth sheet look like?
There's only
The
3.
fourth sheet was an open space.
What's the third sheet look like?
This.
It's cold here.
Analysis.
Was that the,
Oh, it's this one, okay. If I have it here. There's the open space. You have it.
Yeah, I got that one.
You don't need the open
You need
space.
this.
Okay.
That's the third page. Okay, I got it.
But you
Page
have a
3.
capital improvement fund. That's the third page.
Yes, I have that there.
Page 3.
All right. So after talking about
This is page
everything...
4.
Yeah, that's right.
You gave me an understanding of what you wanted to do, or the potential of the plan that you wanted to put in place. All right, if you look at the first page, the debt repayment plan, I just want you to focus on the 3 columns to start with, the first 3. That's your 2017 project. You have 13 projects underneath it. Comes down a little further, we said we would push the ambulance out to 2019. So I didn't factor that into 2017, I moved that out. Finally, you have those 2 old bond ordinances that are in it. Now, those 2 bond ordinances, you've already moved the capital improvement fund money. That down payment is already taken care of, so you don't need down payment money for that. What I did, especially with John Drakowitz saying it, is I goosed these numbers up a little bit. Okay? Rounded them off. So where your fire engine might have been 616, now it's 620. Okay? It's a lot easier to cancel an unexpended balance than to have to go in and say, we need to do an ordinance to adjust the ordinance. Okay? So I gave it a little bit, put a little bit on there, and I gave you what 5% down payment would be from the capital improvement fund in the second column. And in the third column, I gave you what you're going to borrow. All right, so you have 3 columns there that just show you, here's the total number, here's the down payment money, and here's what I'm borrowing. Now, for all of those projects, including the 2019 one, the total of that project borrowing would be $2.26 million. Okay? What I did from there was I broke down what I thought was a steady repayment schedule from 2018 to 2027. That's 10 years of repayment, just to show you how you're going to pay for all of these items and know that there's a plan in place. You will not approve this tonight. I don't think you ever approved one of these. It's just a plan that, as a governing body, hey, we like the plan, we're going to follow it as long as we're together. And hopefully when people come off and people come on, they continue to follow it And the whole idea of putting the plan together is to try to get it consistently paid off over the life of those 10 years, right? You don't want to be paying $500,000 one year, $200,000 another year, and then it goes back up to $300,000. Try to keep that and take that completely out of it. There are, up top here where you see the repayment years, there's one thing that I haven't factored in because there's a big unknown. You have a 204, I roughly said 204,000 and 205,000 for the DPW building is what you're going to borrow. You're going to get back insurance fund money. You just don't know how much. That's something that when the insurance money comes in, it pays off that debt directly. Right? So if we don't address that debt in the first couple of years, we're fine because we're going to address it with the insurance proceeds that come back. Then we can address it later on. However, if $100,000 comes in and we have to pay $105,000, we can pay that over the last 5 years. All right, when you see that it frees up a little bit more cash here and there. The other thing that's not on here is the full payment of the ambulance. All right, because we're getting the ambulance in 2019. I have you projected here to pay it back from 2021 to 2029. You're just not seeing 2028 and 2029. I think there was 40,000 left after that, so it's another 2 years of 20,000. I can't really predict everything that's going to happen in 10 years, so I'm not going to go out 12 years. But that's what you would see if this went out 2 more years. And there's a huge difference between serial bond interest and ban interest. Okay, right now we're getting serial bonds 3.5%. It's not the 2%. 2% is coming in. I mean, you're getting less. It was 1.18 in Washington Township last year on a $500,000 bond participation. All right, I assumed a 2% interest rate across the board. I'm conservative. I try to say, why would I go at a low number if it's high interest? So if it comes in good, great for you. But I made sure I kept it consistent. Interest rates, they've been in low, I don't know how long. They're only going to go up. All right, so I put in a 2% interest rate. I think you'll see better than that in the first few years, but I do think you're going to see them go up after that. But this averages everything out. So I assumed a 2% interest rate. When I put all of it together, that next section down there, principal and interest, if you look at your total principal and interest, in 2018, I have you at $259,000. 19, I have you $255,000. 20, $256,000. Again, what I tried to do was keep this consistent from one year to the next so that you're not fluctuating a whole lot of money. Now, it tails off because we're paying off the police cruisers in the first 3 years. So $128,000 comes off in the first 3 years. So you'll start to see that 256 goes to 246, to 243, to 232, all the way across the page. It keeps coming down. But I think you'd rather see it going down than going up anything. All right? So we gave you the biggest impact in the first couple of years, and then it kind of peters off. And that's where I was saying, if you take the DPW building, which isn't addressed on here, and you save it for the last 5 years, once you put down those principal payments, whatever they wind up being, that'll goose up those other numbers, and you'll probably be close in 2024 to what you paid in total in 2018. So there's room at the back end of this to pay the rest of that off. And again, I can't stress it enough, this is just a plan, because you don't know if anything else is going to happen within Greenwich Township that's going to cause you to go out and get another bond, say in 2020 or something. Who knows? I know one of the items that isn't addressed here that did come up at one point was taking down the old building, the old school district, the old school building. I don't know what that's going to cost. That's not factored in. I only factored in what we've discussed. So at any point, this could change. Interest rates spike, this will change. But again, this is a plan to try to get you to pay down what you approved or you are talking about.
So does this mean in next year's budget, we have to...
We'll get to that.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
I'm trying to do it one step at a time and keep it as simple as possible.
Yeah.
And if I'm being redundant, I apologize.
No, go right ahead. What?
Okay. So now, exactly, we're right at where you're talking. How do we fund this thing? And there's different ways to go. I think what I've proposed here, you're getting a piece. Let's start with the sewer utility piece, because that's the easiest piece. Okay? I'm saying we take an $8,900 in the first couple of years from sewer utility, because that has to do with the truck that partially works for sewer, right? We said 40%, 40 split. That's the 40%. All right? So you bring that money in from sewer. Nice and easy. After that, it gets a little more difficult. And this is where you have to decide, and you'll have to decide this in next year's budget of how you want to do this. Because again, just a plan, not set in stone. One of the things that we've been doing is we've been taking out money from the deferred school tax. And without getting into the dynamics of the deferred school tax and how it all actually works, I'll just refresh you a little bit, because you might be new to this conversation. Deferred school tax is a mechanism where the state says you can take half of the school tax levy and defer it to the next year. Okay? All that means is you're not counting it as a payable on your books at year end. If you reduce a payable, your fund balance goes up. Right? But half of that levy is always going to be the accounts payable plus whatever the deferral is. You're still going to make the school district whole. This doesn't hurt the kids. This doesn't do anything. This is just something that the state says it's really unfair that you have to carry a big number as an account payable. So if you need it, you can defer the money over and reduce your payable, which increases your fund balance. In the last 2 years, since I've been here, we've taken $350,000 and increased that deferral, which reduced the payable and increased fund balance. What we did with that was we took, in 2016, of the 350, we were going to put 250 into roads, which we did, and then 100,000 helped because we were looking at a bigger tax rate, a bigger tax increase, and we did use some of that to offset taxes. In 2016, we took that same 350, we put 250 towards roads, and we put 100,000 into capital improvement fund. All right, now, what happened earlier in tonight's meeting kind of throws me into a little bit of a loop because I wasn't expecting that big of a bond. But you can continue to take that 350 and even more, bring that in, or defer that, reduce the payable, increase fund balance, and use that fund balance to continue paying for these bonds. Okay? Where you stand is on page 2. Go to that bottom section first. Your school tax levy in the 2016-17 year, because you raised half of it in the last half of the year, and you raised the other half in the first half of next year. That levy is $10,688,000. Your maximum deferral of half of that totals $5,344,000. At the end of last year, you had deferred $2.4 million. So you were under that deferral by, was it $3 million? Just shy of $3 million. So you had the ability to take that deferral up another $3 million and increase. If you wanted to do it all in 1 year, this is the silver bullet, but this is a one-time exception. You can increase that deferral by $2.9 million, which will increase your fund balance by $2.9 million. And you could turn around and pay for all of this all in 1 year. I would so recommend against doing that because you don't get to replenish this. But what happens is, every year, as far as in my town, in my neighbor's town, school taxes are always going up 2%. So what I did was I factored in what that 2% increase would be going out to 2027 so that I know what your maximum deferral would be. All right? In one of the years, their debt drops off. They're done paying all of their bond, serial bond debt. So when they don't have to pay that, you lose some of the benefit of that deferred.
Can I stop you right there 1 second?
Go right ahead.
And I'm glad you're here, because you know the comment that school tax goes up 2% each year, but you were saying something about
You got two bonds coming.
two bonds, and it actually may go down. I don't know that affects this or what, right?
Yes, but 2% is on the operating budget.
Correct.
So that's different.
That's different.
Okay.
Debt service is a separate levy, that's part of the total of the tax, and that,
So I just want to clarify
Back to
that.
it.
Okay.
yeah,
I didn't go into
that doesn't.
pulling it apart, but this is a rough estimate, a rough plan.
Right.
Bottom line is, with how I have this plan structured right now, by 2027, you should still have about $1.2 million to defer. Okay? You can either take it all up front and pay for it all off now, or as you go, if you follow the plan, you'll still have wiggle room at the end. And I like having wiggle room. As an auditor, it's nice that that cushion is there. You have a bad fund balance year, you can take that in to help boost up your fund balance. All right? If you have a great fund balance year and you get some unexpected revenues in, you don't have to take as much from the deferred school tax. But here's what we're doing. Go back to the front page. So page 1, in the funded by section, we covered the sewer utility. All right? In 2000, we'll just focus on 2018. I reduced, instead of putting $100,000 into capital improvement fund, I put in $25,000, and then I turned around and I took $75,000 and brought it in to pay debt instead. So far, so good. All right, so last year we took out $350, $100 of that was to replenish capital improvement funds. Next year I was saying there's $42,000 in there, so you don't need $100,000 to go in and bring it up to $142. You only have to put like $25 in there, because I don't know, what your projects are going to be. But now with that depleted, we may want to rethink that. So if we put in $25,000 a year for the next 4 years, we can take that extra $75,000 that we've been taken from the school tax, and we can use that to offset debt. Okay? I made the assumption that 1 cent is $60,000. It's a little under $60,000 now, but a little like.
Ask a question. So you're saying what we would be putting in capital improvement fund each year?
Would you put in 25?
That's it.
That's it. But that was when I thought that we started with 42.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why, go to page 3, right? This is my capital improvement. Right. All right. So once you do bond 2017, whatever we're calling this one, here's how it works out. At the end of 16, you had $10,000 in it. Your 2017 budget adds $100,000. That's the money coming from the deferred school tax. So it brings you $110,000. These projects, these 13 projects, the down payment money was $67,000, which left you with $42,974, and that's where I came up with, you only have $42,000 left if you're going to do another one. All right? Going forward, I put in $25,000 a year for the next 4 years, which is $100,000. And then that $9,500 down at the bottom, that's your ambulance down payment right there. Okay? So it would have been $133,000, but we are pulling $42,000 out of that. So this is going to change based on what happened earlier tonight. But you get the idea. We're funding in $25,000 a year because you're doing a lot of projects in 17, and you're doing one in 19. So I don't know how much down payment money you're going to need on any future bond anticipation notes in the next couple of years.
That's what I'm worried about, though. So it seems like we're not replenishing the capital improvement fund, and more equipment needs are going to be coming down the pipe.
Again, with taking the $42,000 out, I agree with you. If we would have left the $42,000 in, you're still at $133,000 in 4 years.
Yeah.
All right.
Let me,
Just one second, real quick. $133,000 in 4 years would get you down payment money for a $2.6 million bond. So you would have enough down payment money in there to do a lot of things.
when the bond comes in for the open space though, shouldn't they have to give us the $42,000 back? Because we really shouldn't be taking it out of the general fund to pay that, because we're telling everybody the general fund's not paying anything. Is that permissible to get that $42,000
Well,
back
it's
then?
paying for that, but it's not being paid through taxation. It's being paid through fund balance, which is coming from the deferred school tax.
But either way, it's really, you're starting to commingle. I'm looking at it that way. If you know what I'm saying, like, we're telling everybody
We didn't
this
raise
part
1
gets,
cent in taxes
Yeah, but I don't like the idea of that money. To me, I think open space should have to give us the 42,000 back. That's how I'm looking at it. Does anybody disagree with that?
I don't disagree, but I don't think we can.
I'll
Look into that.
I'll call Siemens and Peachy down at the state tomorrow
Yeah.
to get a definitive answer. How do you bring that money back? Can you anticipate? Because it makes perfect sense. All right, you can only use open space money for open space expenses. That down payment money, that 42,000, is paying for open space.
Yeah.
Right, but you can't use open space money for down payment money.
Right.
But is there a mechanism that'll bring that in the
Yeah.
future budget?
So I
I'll find that out.
think that's something we should look into.
But I actually addressed them, I had the same
Yep.
concern.
Yeah, okay.
So, but I'm comfortable because, well, the comment that we made was that the park will not increase taxes.
Right.
That is the comment.
But I
that we-
still would feel better, like, if we could do
Yeah, if we
that.
could do
and
that,
way
I'm
we
with you.
say nothing from the township was used for that.
But I'm comfortable taking it from deferred because it still holds true
Right, right.
that it did not increase
Yeah.
taxes.
But I would rather do it.
Yeah, I would rather do it that way too. Yeah.
Which is right.
Okay, so what's the bottom line here at 9:35?
Here's the
They
bottom
get
line.
all their requests, everything they wanted.
Still got 4 hours of battery left.
Well, we don't have to, even though we're going to bond for this, we still don't have to spend it, right? We could still, if we decided, even though we bond this amount, right, so let's pick,
Give me a for instance.
let's say police radios, it's only 22,000. We said, we're not going to buy them, we decide we don't really need them. There's no big issue there, we just don't,
It's perfect, because once you put all these into one ordinance, you'll have the ability to bond that 1.2 million.
Right.
Total of the, I would go out and get that cash,
right.
okay? You have the cash on hand, because you don't know, if you're gonna cancel it, that's a decision you make at that point. But if you don't cancel it, at least you have the cash there ready to go to pay for this.
Okay.
Now, if you cancel it, you'll cancel that off, and you'll take that 22,000 that you already received, and you'll put it in an account called Reserve to Pay Debt Service. And then you'll take that into the budget and pay down that bond anticipation note for that money that you don't use. That's why, let's say the fire engine comes in at 600,000, all right? That's 20,000 less than we expected it to be. You'll cancel out, once the last bill is paid, and Kathleen says, hey, listen, we made our last payment, and it came in $20,000 on the budget. Let's do a resolution to go ahead and cancel this part of it, move the money into Reserve to Pay Debt Service, and next year, when we have a bond payment, we can add that to it. So just because you're borrowing it doesn't mean you have to spend every dollar.
Okay.
Okay?
So, are we looking to issue a bond every year? Is that what we're looking to do? Or how does
You are
that work?
looking to issue a bond anticipation note in 2017, okay?
Right.
Because you will have the first reading, second reading, estoppel period. Your bonding attorney will put this all together, go out, get you a bond anticipation note. And then, say you get it on November 1st. Next year, November 1st, you owe the money back to the bank, but you're going to re-borrow money. Right, so you're going to make a principal payment, according to this plan, you'll make a $218,000 principal payment and then borrow the difference. Okay, so if it was a $1.2 million bond and you paid off the $200,000, now you're going to look at getting a new bond anticipation note for $1 million. And that's how it rolls from year to year to year. You pay down principal, so your interest payment's going to be less because you're paying down on
So,
fewer principal.
for me, it's usually, it's always simplified, so all I need to know is how much do we need to appropriate?
I'm still getting there because I know you want to keep it to a penny.
Well, I just want to know what we got to pay back in the budget. I don't even care where it's coming from yet. In next year's budget. In next year's budget. Don't even tell me where you're getting the money from, if it's deferred. What needs to be paid back?
In next year's budget, you're going to be on the hook for, according to what I have, the interest could be different, you're going to be on the hook for $259,847.50. So roughly $260,000.
Can we pay it?
Can you pay it? Absolutely.
Here we go.
So, $260,000.
Wait, I still got another hour per session. What does it raise in taxes?
That's where we're gonna have to discuss it, because it could,
This is where, because remember, we got the other bond, right? We got the 800,000, oh, you factored that in.
gotcha.
So this is, so you factored that in, plus all these capital,
I pushed the ambulance down the road a little bit, because we said the ambulance would be later.
well, it's not as bad as I thought. So you're talking 4.3 cents for both the 800,000 that, from 2015, plus all of this stuff.
Now, here's what, because you brought this up, and you're addressing it, and I kinda like it, and it makes sense. Because that 2015 debt was authorized prior to you being here, and it's over a penny, you know, you can consider, hey, this new debt that we're authorizing, if we paid back a penny on this, if we increased taxes by a penny to address these 13 items, and then eventually this ambulance, and then we've raised another penny to address the 2015 debt, which prior committee, you know, that's 2 cents, but at least that addresses your debt needs. Because you are taking money from sewer for the first couple of years, and you're still taking money from the deferred school tax to help offset this.
There's no way around a 2-cent increase, I mean, because we're screwed from 15, well, we're screwed from 15.
Yeah, there is, because you can take as much as you want from deferred, yeah.
Right.
So 4.3 is what's owed. You can knock that down to 2 by all these different accounting mechanisms, whether it's deferred or
Yeah.
the money from sewer. So we're looking at, before we even look at the operating budget for next year, before we even look at the general fund, we're looking at 2 cents. Before we look at,
If that's the direction you want to go.
Right.
All right, I laid it out there the first 2 years, and just take a look at 2018. I know you guys want to get, so do I, trust me. I gave you what the total principal and interest is, and then right below it, I showed you how you were paying. All right, you're taking 8,900 from the sewer. You're reducing the capital improvement fund by 75, so that's the deferred school tax money. We're also taking another 60 from the deferred school tax, so that's 135 total. All right, the remainder I'm taking from taxation, which is 115,000. That's like 2 cents, less than 2 cents. All right, we did that for the first 2 years. Okay, so 2018, 2019, we're raising 115,000 in taxes to address it in 18, 111 to address it in 19. What happens in 2020 is you're done with all those road projects. That 250 that was being paid out of deferred school tax to pay the road projects, I was under the impression when I came and walked through these doors that you were doing that for 5 years. Okay? So back in 2015, 250 was raised for road projects. 2016, we put 250 in the budget. 2017, this year's another 250. 18 and 19 have 250 pieces left, right? So 500,000. 2020, that falls off. You're done with roads. Because that's what Mike Finelli had said. It's a 5-year plan, $1.2 million, and we're done. So now once that 250 falls off, I took that money and started using that to pay down the debt, and I reduced your tax back down to about a penny. So in the first 2 years, I have you paying about 2 cents, just under 2 cents. Rest of the way, just under, either right at or just under a penny.
that's 2 cents, not knowing, you know, what the new budget's gonna be yet, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. That's starting out,
This is your plan for debt, exactly.
that's starting out at a 2 cent increase.
Yep.
Could be more, could be less, it's
Well, you
usually.
guys have picked up on this, so this
But
is,
you know, Frank,
I thought we were gonna be here all night.
Well, here's my other question, then, real quick. What if one of the items comes in more than we anticipated, and we decide not to do another, and can we use that money? Like, if something's gonna cost 20,000 more than we thought, can we say, okay, we're not gonna get the police radios and use that 20,000?
As long as you don't overexpend the ordinance in total,
Okay,
I'm okay with that.
okay.
That's fine. But if you start to cancel off pieces of it, then you're limiting yourself as to what you can use. Say you cancel out the 22,000,
Mm-hmm.
and a bill comes in for 23,000. You know, at the end, when you have no money left,
Right.
you're at $1,000 overexpended.
Okay.
So you gotta be cautious about canceling off pieces.
Okay.
And we still have the option of taking more deferred if we think the budget's
Oh, that was
a
the other
little
thing.
out of control.
That's my other question. If we ended up buying next door, and we needed $400,000 to buy, re-renovate, fix up, buy equipment, can we use the school deferral for that?
You can, The only problem that I have is that right now you're at 2.9 million that you can defer up, you can defer 2.9 more million.
Right.
This projection brings you down to 1.2. If you keep taking it that, eventually it's going to go away. Now, it's fine if it goes away, and you have a stable municipality. But if you have a year where you're at running, bad fund balance numbers for whatever reason.
Right.
Typically, we see municipalities, or we have municipalities, increase the deferred school tax to help them in a financial hardship position. If you ever got to that point, you're depleting all of your funds. And, that's the safety net.
So you would think maybe if...
When council's looking for a silver
I agree
bullet,
with
you gotta help me out.
No,
What
I'm
can
with you
I
on
do?
that. I'm with you.
You can get this.
I also don't like using it for things that depreciate. Like, to me, buying a building makes sense. Buying a car or an SUV with it, I don't really like that.
I don't either, but we got
I like
stuck
it
with that
for
one.
one time. I like it for one-time expenditures.
yeah.
But
Well, one of the things I was going to tell you, again, before tonight's, the earlier meeting, there are some smaller ticket items in here, and maybe some of this stuff could be charged to the budget as opposed to being bonded for. You have mobile video recorders.
Yeah.
Is there room, do we think there's going to be enough room in police OE this year where some money's left over where we can charge this there rather than raise it? I have it back as a one-year payback. I'm borrowing $7,600 for it, and I'm paying it off in 2018 anyway. Is there something here that could be charged to the budget? Do we have any kind of wiggle room without putting strain on your budget? I don't want to do that either. Because
Right.
the budget's really good this year. I think we're finally on track with the numbers you're getting. But maybe one of these smaller items could come on. And then you're not talking about a lot of money, but something.
No, I thought the same thing too, with some of these things I hate to really bond for, some of the smaller tickets, and we're already into July. So some of these things, you may not have to buy until 18 anyway.
And could they be pushed off until 18?
Yeah.
If they can, let's take them out of here.
We kind of know the radios already are. And
This gives you the authority to spend the money.
and the 12,000 for firearms, I would almost think we could do next year in the budget.
so
Yeah,
are
but you
we?
don't want to go too those firearms because they're outdated and they're not getting parts from anymore.
Yeah, but it's July, so I mean...
Right, but it's going to be next July before you put them back in the budget. The whole year.
Well, no, because we could spend that in January already, because we're doing a temporary budget, we could do it. You can order like in January.
Right out of the gate.
But
Yeah.
12,000 is such a small, you don't want to pay for it over,
Hey, you guys gave me the numbers.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, but if you take the radios, it's 22, now you're at 30, now you're 34,000 you got off. You come up with another 16, you're cutting 50 grand off of it.
Well,
That was my other
what
question.
about
What
the
do we
big
got in the-
items?
what do you-
Yeah, what are we gonna do tonight? We gotta do a motion to have him do an ordinance up to,
Well, I was just coming here to explain the plan to you tonight, whether or not,
And we don't have to do this. We don't have to act on this tonight.
You could say, you know what, good.
well,
Throw it out if you want.
I mean, we do have some issues like,
That's your use.
well, the SUVs, we already have that
We got
ordinance.
that.
But like Joe said, the fire truck, we can put it off, we're gonna start getting into next year, and then there's probably gonna be a percentage increase.
Yeah, that's what you run the risk of, the prices go up year.
So that's my question, I mean, since we don't have to spend this,
But we get the,
can we just,
get it
can we
rolling right
make
now
a motion
tonight,
and
right?
have him draft the bond ordinance for the amount?
I tell you what, I know where you're going. You have $1.2 million to be borrowed from
Right.
13 projects. You have the $798,000 that needs to be borrowed. First thing you have to do is you have to get the ordinance in place to go out and buy these new 13 items. Okay?
Right.
Once you have that ordinance in place and you can go out and issue that debt and the 798 from the prior committee. So now you have those two pieces. If you say before the end of the year, or even into the next year, hey, these police radios, we're no longer going to buy them through the ordinance, we're going to raise them in the budget next year. Then we go ahead and cancel the ordinance for the 22,000. We use that money because we borrowed it already, we'll pay it back, and then we'll just buy it through the budget next year. You know, so that you have wiggle room.
So how much are we gonna bond? What are we gonna give him authorization to do a bond for up to what, 2 mil?
Well,
2.4?
The total of the 13 projects is what your ordinance will be for. It'll be a $1,349,000 ordinance with a $67,450 down payment and 1.2 million of debt to be authorized.
What else was pushed from that original list? What am I missing here? The only thing I see that was pushed was the ambulance. Anything else?
We haven't discussed.
Okay, just, and I commend Paul for doing this. I mean, he gave up the ambulance, he pushed it out. Are we not able to push anything else out?
Well, you know, in the $798,000, there's also a $77,000 Ford F-50, you know, for the fire department, so, I mean...
No, wasn't that bought up?
If you need to push that out, push it out.
What's that?
Well,
The chief's vehicle,
Command vehicle?
80 grand.
Oh, it's 90 on here, but yeah.
how far can we push that out, Joe? Could you get by another couple, 2-3 years?
Can you use that pickup truck and turn it into a fire chief?
We're using that for more support stuff.
No.
So,
That kind of took care of that box truck?
Why would you want to push that out?
Yeah.
to have less of a payment the first year? I mean, maybe I'm not understanding it.
Yeah,
Right now,
He's not really pushing the ambulance out, he's just doing the purchase. We're still gonna bond for that now, we're just not gonna buy it until 19, correct?
maybe I'm not understanding it right.
Because
I'm
we're
trying
in
to
one-year
make-
bonds right now.
I'm trying to make next year's repayment lower. I was assuming if we're not buying the ambulance right away,
Right.
our payment next year is lower.
Right.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to do.
That's what you're trying to do.
Right, that's what I'm trying to
So
do.
if-
But I still, let's see, I have you down as paying back the F-450 utility truck. I have you starting to pay that back over the next 3 years. If you push that out,
Wasn't that was the command?
Yeah, you have the command
Command
vehicle, we're
vehicle.
not paying until 21, the
so that was
17,250.
part of the 15 ordinance?
No, that's different.
Why are we paying it in 2021?
The command
Yeah, I already
fire.
have that pushed out.
Oh, okay,
Oh,
So
okay.
even though you're getting the money.
Did you say it last
go ahead
meeting,
and buy
Ray?
it, And I have, again, it's just.
so the only thing in next year's budget are 1, 2, 3, these the 5 things? These 5? Okay, okay.
And I could,
Okay.
I could replace them with 5 different ones.
No,
Okay.
that,
But we also,
Understand it better now.
but we have this ability, so let's say next year, if Joe says to us, look, we gotta order this mower by May, in order to get it by November, we'll have everything in place so we can say to him, go ahead. Or if he says, if we don't buy something by July 1st, I know there's gonna be a 5% increase on it, in June, we can say, go ahead and put the order in. So,
Just gives you the
okay.
authority to do
So,
that project.
so what we, so I'm looking for how to word this motion. Are we gonna, am I doing the same thing, a motion to authorize the board, the bond attorney to repair an ordinance for how much money?
$1,349,000
Okay.
Oh, right
with a
there.
down payment of $67,450.
Do I need that in there?
No.
I just need the bond in, I just need the total, right?
I know, I'm saying, we don't want to put that in.
The ambulance?
Right.
No, because we said the ambulance was going to be purchased in 19, correct?
So that'll be a whole
So
different.
we'll do another bond ordinance in 19 for the ambulance.
so just for the,
Do I have to put the down payment in this ordinance or not?
No, I just think the
Your bonding
1.34.
attorney will.
And the motion, I'm just making the motions, okay. So I'm looking for, okay.
one second, just so the public understands. We're looking for the 4 of you. For next year's budget, the repayment of these capital only include, and just correct me if I'm wrong, the fire engine, the utility truck, the police SUVs, the mobile video recorder, and the tablets for the vehicles.
That is the plan that I've put in front of you.
Okay. So that's all we have to worry about in next year's budget. Okay.
So I'm looking for,
You don't-
okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
One more thing. You don't have to specify that.
No,
You
no,
just, you principal, ban interest. It doesn't matter how it's divvied up. I put together a plan.
that's the plan.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Kathleen can track that internally.
You could change that plan.
Exactly.
Yeah. But
That's why
That's
you
the
don't have
plan.
to approve it, you're not bound by it. You can come up and change it.
Got it.
Okay, so I'm looking for a motion to authorize the bond attorney to prepare an ordinance for $1,349,000 bonds with a $67,450 down payment. Anybody want to make that motion?
I'll make it.
You got a motion, I'll second it. Any comments, questions, discussions?
You want that on for next week too then, for intro, right?
Yeah, that we were trying to fast track this too, yeah.
I
Yeah.
have a
Yeah.
text message into,
Okay.
Mike Lavery, and, I'm gonna be calling him on the cell tomorrow morning.
Any comments, questions then? Roll call.
Kenya?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Spencer? Marqueta?
Yes.
Parsons?
Yes. Okay, do we have anything
Thank
that we
you,
need to
John.
go in executive close for? I don't think so.
I just had that there.
Okay.
Public comment?
Hey, okay, let's make I make a motion to open public comment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone wishing to make any public comments, step up.
Question there, I know you just said them projects, where does that put like the Mason dump that was on the list? We can still purchase that for the bond for it, you're just not making the payment, pushing it out. Okay, that was my question, just a little confused.
Yes, so we're not paying that back in 2021.
Okay.
What?
Okay,
Okay,
go
so
ahead.
make a motion to close public comment.
Second.
Oh, wait, hold on.
You've asked me to get some final, numbers, the fire truck, the engine, the reality price, the guy put the 4 to 5 just in case this drug out. So that 616 ain't real. 591, 953.
That's good.
Okay, and then if we make the chassis payment, that'll be a savings of $11,178. That'll come off of that figure, plus the trade-in for the old engine, an additional 10 grand.
Guess sounds better already.
And I know Kathleen loves revenue.
Okay. Okay.
So all in favor?
All in favor to come out of public, comment?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Do you need a motion to adjourn?
That's all we're waiting for, right? Hold on, Bill, you have something you want to say about it?
No, I don't have anything else.
Okay.
Yeah.
Motion, yeah, Bill made a motion, Will made a motion to adjourn?
Are you okay with the building for the Monday?
Oh, yeah, well, close at 3 o'clock on Monday? The day before holiday?
She said 3:30.
3:30? Anybody posted?
Yeah.
That? Okay. All right.
Oh, do we need, you already approved those meetings? Were the official?
We already did that, yeah.
We did the
Official.
meeting. Yeah.
The meetings we did.
Yeah, you did vote on it.
All right, I was wondering.
Okay, so, all in favor to adjourn?
Aye.
Aye.